Get started. All right, I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. RSU 63 Board of Directors special meeting / February makeup meeting. Today is Thursday, March 19th, 2026. The time is 5:02 and we are at Holbrook Middle School. If we could all stand and take a moment and salute the flag. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And stealing the line from the Holden Select Board Chair, if we could take a moment and remember someone or something that is important to us. Thank you, everyone. Before we get into the board orientation, I did notice on the posted agenda that we did not have a public comment section where this is a makeup for the February board meeting. We do need to add that. I would entertain a motion to amend the agenda to add a public comment section.
So noted.
I have a motion. Is that a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion was made by Chip Haskell, seconded by Rachel Downs. Is there any discussion?
Where are we putting it? I guess that would be my only question.
Typically do it at the beginning, so why don't we put that in after the orientation and before new business? Unless there's any objection to that. Good question. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for a show of hands. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Ready? Okay. That vote is unanimous, 7-0. We are missing one board member. Thank you for that. This time I would like to turn the meeting over to Eric Waddell from the MSMA. I want to thank you for coming and spending some time with us for the MSMA board orientation.
Yeah.
Eric, the floor is yours. Thanks for
Thank
coming.
you so much. Well, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My first official visit to RSU 63. It's a big deal. Let the minutes reflect that. No, it is a pleasure to be here. I planned this months ago. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I think I remember thinking, oh, that'll almost be spring. And when we planned that, and look where we are. Now it's the first day of spring. It feels good. All right, so let me just tell you what you have in front of you, and then I'll go from there. In your white folder, you have some really important stuff that we're going to get through. We'll get through most of it, and some of it we'll maybe leave for another time. But in the right pocket, you'll notice that there are handouts from the slide deck. Again, important for you to have the down notes, or also to, in case we might have to skip around a little bit, and we may not get to everything before your meeting. It's 6:30, right, Scott?
Yes.
Obviously, we'll shoot for 6:25. Behind the handouts, the slide deck handouts, are your RSU 63 board policies that we'll be referencing during the workshop. And I think this is sometimes very helpful for people to have those in front of them, rather than to have to click onto your site and to find the code and all that. So as I said, I'll be referring to them, and sometimes we'll look at them and read them. Other times I'll just make sure you know it's there. And then on the left side, on the left pocket, there's some materials there for your superintendent, for Jamie, anyone else who's responsible here for the functioning of the school board. Gary, perhaps. The board book is a online platform that is just beginning to get some traction here in the state of Maine. We're using the Association for all of our meetings, and it's just a great tool to. It puts all of your agendas and minutes and handouts on in the cloud, and so that you can access them anywhere from any time. And the piece that I like the most is that you can go back and look at things that from meetings previously. It's just very easy to use. So that's there for you. With 3 or 4 districts in Maine that have already started using Boardbook. And then some materials about our association. Oh, yes.
Is there a cost to the districts for that?
There is a cost. It's based on your size as well.
Okay.
So we can certainly help with that. The association, I'm thinking, is right around $1,600 for a subscription.
Annually, or?
I believe it's annual, but that may be the initial year.
Okay.
So it may be less after that.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep, certainly. Some materials about our association, or your association, I should say. And then finally, on the left pocket in the back are 7 case studies that I've created just this year. These are all loosely based on real-life situations, but trust me, the innocent, the identity of the innocent has been protected, so no worries about that. Changed all the names and the towns and really most of the details, but I think there's a lot to learn from looking at case studies from other fictional school boards. Trust me, I've done these workshops really all year now. I started in August, and in all the counties in Maine, and I can tell you that the challenges and the difficulties that boards are experiencing are happening across the state. The successes are as well. And so I think there's one school board may do something fantastic, and they may fall short in another area, and I think there's something to be learned. So we'll do at least a couple of these case studies together, and if we don't get to them, they're yours to have. You can read them on your own, or perhaps Scott or Sheila at some point might like to do one as a warm-up to a board meeting, or whatever you think. I just think they're really interesting to consider. Okay, let me just tell you briefly about myself. As Scott said, my name is Eric Waddell. I'm the Executive Director of the Maine School Management Association and the Maine School Boards Association. Maine School Management Association is a multi-purpose organization. We have 2 associations under our roof. The Maine School Boards Association is one of them. We have over 1,700 members. Nearly every school board in Maine is affiliated with Maine School Boards Association. And the other is Sheila's association, Maine School Superintendents Association, MSSA, is also part of our association. And in addition to that, the Maine School Management Association provides 5 lines of insurance, and RSU 63 may be involved in some of those: property casualty, long-term, short-term disability, dental, workers' comp, and we are flexible spending. And we're adding just now. We're going to be adding an opportunity for the initial group, 64 school boards from across Maine will be receiving their Maine Paid Family Medical Leave insurance through our association as well. A brand new line of insurance that will be facilitated. It's a big organization. I should say we're not that big, but we do a lot. There are only 23 employees in the association, and we have our hand in a lot of things. In addition to board governance workshops and these sorts of workshops that I'm doing across the state, as well as my colleague Eileen King, we do board advocacy workshops. We have superintendent. We engage with members to do superintendent searches. I'm doing 2 right now. Eileen's doing a big one in RSU 6. So we try to do as much as we can for our members and to support them in all of the work that they do on a daily basis. As I said, I've been here with the association. I think I said I've been with the association since July 1st. Prior to that, I was the superintendent of schools in Kittery, which is far from here. And but interestingly, I was born and raised and attended high school in Fort Kent. So if you're familiar with the state of Maine, you know that Fort Kent is at one point, at one end of US Route 1, and Kittery is at the other. And so I have literally covered the entire state. And now I'm getting to visit these smaller little nooks and crannies that I wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to visit. In a couple weeks, I'm heading to Calais and Cherryfield in Washington County. I'm looking forward to that as well. I've been out to Houston County and all through the state. It's been such a pleasure to do.
What happened to your accent?
I know. Here's the story. I get asked that a lot. So when I'm in Fort Kent, I do
Comes back
develop a little bit of a French accent.
Use your hands a little more.
But here's my reality is that my dad was my high school principal, and he went on to be the superintendent in SAD 27. But my parents are not. Neither is from Fort Kent. They graduated from the University of Maine and both landed jobs in Fort Kent in 1962. And I think their intention was to stay there for a couple years, and they stayed there for 32 years.
Wow.
And my brother and sister and I were born and raised there, and I can say that it was a great place to grow up. But I had 19 Pelletiers in my graduating class. 162 people in my class, 3.5 pages of Pelletiers. So definitely a French-speaking community, which also I'm very proud of, but I have to say that other than an occasional accent that slips out as I get closer and closer to the St. John Valley, I really didn't pick up any French at all. I'm embarrassed to say my kids are studying Spanish, and so I can't help with that. But I did study French, and they say, you don't know how to speak Spanish. We don't ever hear you speak French. I mean, what did you learn exactly from the language? And I said, I studied French, but man, I didn't pick it up, unfortunately. I needed to get more immersed in it, I think. So, any questions? My wife and I live in South Berwick. We have 4 kids, ages 22 to 15, 2 in high school. Next year I'll have 2 at the University of Maine, one a third-year nursing student, and my son, who's a high school senior, is going to Maine as well for finance and accounting. My daughter graduated from Flagler College in St. Augustine. Anyone familiar? I said that the other day. Oh my gosh, my daughter's looking at Flagler. I had never heard of it, frankly. But it's a lovely school, a lovely college in St. Augustine. She studied coastal environmental science and has moved back home and is trying to decide what she's going to do. And in the meantime, my wife and I are trying to teach her how to hang up her bath towel and maybe throw in a little laundry from time to time as well. So anyway, thank you for having me here today. So let's just jump right into it. And what I'd like to say, first of all, is what I'm going to share with you, a lot of it is, much of it is grounded in statute. But when it comes to board governance, school board governance, a lot of it is not necessarily statutory. It's not in law. Some of it will be anchored by your policies, which is sort of like the law, really. And in other cases, it's just good practice, what I'm going to share with you. It's just good practice. So a lot of times our members will call me and say, what's the statute, where's the law that says we have to do this? And I'll say, you know what, there is no law for that. That's just really good practice. And so that's what we're going to be talking about over the next hour and a half or so. And if you have any questions at any time, I hope you'll just, I don't want to turn my back to anybody. I hope you'll just speak right up and ask, okay? So let's get started then. I think that's going to disappear. Does that disappear?
Yeah.
Good. Here are our outcomes for this training. As a result of this training, you will have a deeper understanding of your role as a board member, gain clarity about how you and the superintendent of schools function together. And I'll talk about that quite a bit, the relationship between the superintendent and the school board, because if that's functioning well, if that relationship is sound, things tend to run very, very smoothly. And conversely, if the relationship between the board and the superintendent is is rocky, or if there's a lot of crossing of lanes and responsibilities get blurred, things tend not to function as smoothly as they should. So you'll hear me talking about that quite a bit. The third outcome, realize that your success as a board member is closely tied to the success of the full board. We'll talk more about that. Understand, finally, that the way your board operates will influence the level of trust that your schools and the community place in it. I just want to underscore that before we go on, because that is, I can't overemphasize that last bullet, and we may not get to it completely. You know, we may not exhaust this topic throughout this session, but I just
Start with that topic.
Well, that's good. I'm glad I'm bringing this up. So, I will. This is what I'll say. This is what I'll say about that last bullet. As I travel around the state, and I've done probably 50 of these workshops now, or I will have by the spring. What I'm learning is that when boards are highly functioning, and that doesn't mean they're always going to agree on everything. That, you know, I know you have 8 board members. That doesn't mean all 8 of you are going to be lockstep in agreement with each other. That's not what I mean by highly functioning. But I think we all know what a highly functioning board is. A highly functioning board is a board that understands its role, understands what they do and what they don't do. I think a highly functioning board demonstrates civil discord, that you can discuss things, you can discuss topics civilly and respectfully without getting too emotional about it or personal, especially. Highly functioning boards, as I said, they stay in their lane, and highly functioning boards have a clear focus and a clear understanding of what it is that they're here to do. Conversely, boards that don't function that way, here's the result. Boards that where at board meetings where papers are tossed across the table, where there's name calling, where board members storm out and throw their chair as they're leaving, use foul language. All these things are happening, by the way, in school boards. Some in Maine, unfortunately, but across this nation. You can Google them on YouTube, unfortunately. When that sort of thing happens, that behavior, it spills into the school. So the way you behave, the way you interact with each other, the way that people see you will impact the way your students behave in their classrooms. It will impact the way that your employees interact with each other. And it impacts the way your families interact with each other and with the school and with you as well. So again, such an important point, and I think oftentimes missed by some boards. Yeah.
I'm just curious, when you're talking about, this year you're coming up on like 50 sessions around the state. What are the reasons people call you in? Is it like a new board, or is it because there's problems, or
There's
do
some.
you vary this to the group, or is this like?
I can customize it to the group. This is just a general board governance workshop. But there are a lot of boards that do this every year. They just do it as just kind of preventive maintenance.
Yeah.
They inevitably have one new member, perhaps, or two. I think you have more than that. 4 new members. So they oftentimes use it as an orientation for new members, but also a reminder, a refresher for returning board members. And then in some cases, they want more directed focus. I did a session in RSU 72 on strictly parliamentary procedure. They wanted the focus to be on parliamentary procedure, and we can do that too. So it really depends on what the needs are. But I will say that mostly superintendents and board chairs are reaching out to me to do these board governance workshops just as annual. It's just annual maintenance for their board, reminders about what their role is.
Sure.
Yep. All right, I'm going to go on. All right, so I think it's important to just get this out in the open, right? when you were elected as board members, and some of you fairly recently, this is statutory. You have to take the oath of office before you can serve in your role as a board member. And this is right in statute. Now, I can't remember if this is for an RSU or for a school union or for an AOS or for a municipal school unit. They're all slightly different. The oaths of office are all slightly different in statute. But what's not different is the part about according to the Constitution laws of this state. That's in all of the oaths of office. So I bring that up only because I'm fully aware that there are some places in Maine right now that have made decisions that are not aligned with the laws of the state, and that there's some tension between the law, the Maine statutes, and federal, not federal law, but federal orders, or federal executive orders, and that as I said, that's creating some tension, and so I often get questions like, well, what if we don't? What if we don't? What if we set policy or make decisions that aren't necessarily aligned with the laws of the state of Maine? And I just tell them quite frankly, well, sometimes nothing will happen, right? Maybe nothing will happen. Or, on the other hand, you might get challenged in court. And right now there is a court case in Maine that's involving many of our school boards, 7 school boards, and we'll see where that takes us. But what I do say to all districts is our recommendation at the association is to encourage our members to adhere to their oath, and even if there's a law in the state of Maine that you don't necessarily align with philosophically, personally, that I have a lot of faith in the court systems, and I believe that the courts are there to ensure that state laws are aligned with the Constitution, and I just believe that that's their role, and I think that by and large our court system does a good job of that. And I say just be patient. That's my position on that. But I want to give you an example of that. So the state of California had passed again, don't want to get too far into the political weeds here, but the state of California had passed a policy, a law, that essentially permitted school personnel to keep matters pertaining to children confidential if that was the desire of the child. I think the issue related issue was children who were considering transitioning genders, and so there was a parent group that challenged that in the state of California. And on March 2nd, the Supreme Court supported those parents and that lawsuit, and so it was a 6-3 split vote. The Supreme Court currently is 6-3 conservative, progressive, and but that was a decision that the courts made, and so now California needs to align with that. I'm sure they're going to appeal it, but eventually that's how that works. And so, as I said, there's some cases now in Maine, and our recommendation to boards is to be patient, let the courts decide, and then then move from there. So school boards and school committees. Are you, Sheila? Is it a school board here or a school committee? School board. School board. All right. I always add that school committees, like Herman, may be a school. Is it a school committee? Yeah. Municipal school units oftentimes have a school committee. So Kittery had a school committee. School boards, school committees in Maine are the governing bodies for all school administrative units. They hold statutory powers and duties for their school administrative units in 20-A, Maine Revised Statutes Annotated Section 1, and it's a whole book. That 20A is a whole book, and that section pertains specifically to school boards. And then finally, school boards fulfill their mission as the governing body by acting within its policies, including policy BBA, school board powers and responsibilities. And so that's in your, I could click, that's hot linked, I could click on it here, but you have it in your materials. And I bring this one up specifically because I often say that if boards don't have a robust orientation program for new board members, I would say this is a perfect place to start. Policy BBA, school board powers and responsibilities. That answers so many questions. So as I said, I don't know, Sheila and Scott, if you have some sort of existing orientation for new boards, but for new board members, if you don't, then spending 15 minutes with your policy BBA would be a great place to start. I'm going to point out a couple other policies that would also lend itself well to that. So effective board members understand that they serve as a member of a team. They have no authority except when acting as part of the majority of the board. But they may, as an individual board member, and only by a vote of the board, be delegated authority to act on behalf of the board. So these are simple concepts, but they can be exceedingly problematic for some boards. So the only time, and perhaps you've heard this before, if you've been to the fall conference or you listened to any of our professional development over the years, this board, Scott called this meeting to order, and this meeting's in session, so you are serving as a member of this team. You are, right now, all of you, right this moment, school board members for RSU 63. But when the board is not in session, you have absolutely no authority whatsoever. You're really not even a board. You don't have any more authority than anyone else does in this district. That's a hard concept for some people to think about, because it's very different, I think, for like town select boards or town councils. It's a whole different ballgame. But sometimes people think of those two bodies very similarly, and they're not at all, actually. School boards get their authority when they're together and when they're meeting. I think sometimes town councilors tend to extend that authority outside of the council meetings, or at least maybe they perceive it that way. The other big difference between school boards and town councils is an important one. So if you ever hear of a school board member who refers to their constituents, that's where school boards and town councilors really go in different directions. So town councilors or town select boards or whatever they're called in the towns that comprise RSU 63, they do have constituents. They were based on the area perhaps where they live, their neighborhoods, however they're divided within their communities. Those people who live in those towns are their constituents. You, on the other hand, your constituents are the students. So the voters may have voted you in, but once you're voted in and sworn in, you now have one group of people only that you're serving, and that's the children of RSU 63. It's a really different way of thinking. So I always kind of cringe when I hear board members say, "Well, my constituents have told me that." Well, unless you're talking about the children within RSU 63, that those are your constituents. The people who voted you in are the people who voted you in. That's already happened. So anyway, no authority except when acting as part of the majority of the board. So only have authority when this meeting's in session. However, the third one's a big deal. You may, an individual here may, as an individual board member, and only by a vote of the board, be delegated authority to act on behalf of the board. And I'm going to give you an example. This isn't one of my case studies, but I'll give you an example. I don't want to sit in front of you, because you can be conscious of that. But then my view is obstructed by my laptop.
I was doing a board workshop in Central Maine, small district, expansive, many towns, many small towns. Geographically large district, but small based on student population. And the board was telling me that this one board member, very innocently at a board meeting, at one point during the meeting, they had a part where they can share, I think it was called questions, comments, or concerns. I'm not advocating for that, by the way, as part of your agenda, but in this particular board had had that for a long time. So at the end of the meeting, they do questions, comments, and concerns. And so this one particular board member said, look, I just wanted to say how much I'm enjoying reporting out on the RSU business to, and she named the little town on the far reaches of the district, really on the edge and quite a ways away, isolated. She said, yes, the selectmen invited me to come and they didn't really know what was going on. I hadn't heard anything from the RSU lately, and they just wanted an update from the RSU. And so she said, so I did it, and I liked it so much, and they liked it so much that I've gone back and I do it once a month. And the chair said, whoa, what? What are you doing? And she said, yeah, and she said, I just take the agendas and I write some notes from the meeting and report out. And so the board chair explained that that's a good thing to do, except that it really this would apply, right? Unless you're doing that as a citizen and not as a board member, and I doubt that she was asked to do it as a citizen, but probably asked to do it as a board member, that she would need to have been delegated authority to do that by the board. Now, the board thought it was a fantastic idea. In fact, I think there were 9 little towns and a huge board, and they decided to adopt that model for all the little towns within the RSU. But it's an annual vote by the board to essentially deputize those board members to do that job. And the board chair and the superintendent helped them to make sure that their messaging was consistent and all that. So that's a really good example. Another one we hear often is if there's a board that's in the process of a capital improvement project, let's say a massive window replacement project. Now these windows do not look that old, so I'm assuming these windows were replaced fairly recently. So similar to that, a big window replacement project. And a board member, this one I'm just kind of making up, but I'm sure it's happened before. This one board member has a spouse who is in construction. And so she goes home and is talking about this big capital improvement project that the RSU is going to embark on. And he starts doing some research. The board member and the spouse start doing some research, and you can't turn the TV on anymore without seeing an advertisement for window replacement companies. I mean, they're everywhere. And so did some major research, and all good intentions, and then came back and reported that out to the board. And you say, well, wait a minute. Who asked you to do that? Well, I just did it. I thought it was a good idea, and I don't want to overpay for this. And again, board chair, you know what? It is a good idea to do some research, and I appreciate the fact that you reached out. But really, again, would have needed to have been had the authority to do that by the full board. And again, the last example I'll give for this one, and then maybe some of you have a question or two, is in Augusta, we oftentimes certainly reach out to superintendents, but also reach out to board members and ask them to consider testifying on a bill that might be really important to them or to their RSU or to their community. And that would be something, if you're going to testify as a member of the board, I'm here, thank you to the chair of the Education and Cultural Affairs Committee. My name is so-and-so. I'm a member of the board in RSU 63. That would have required the board to again, to deputize you. It's not that the board's going to say, no, you can't do that. Probably not, I'm assuming. But they'll want to make sure that it's official, that you are in fact officially speaking on behalf of the RSU 63 board, and that it would be very wise for the board chair and the superintendent to take a look at your testimony before you do that. Otherwise, you'd be just testifying as a citizen, and that wouldn't pull as much weight to the Education Cultural Affairs Committee as it would if you were there testifying as a member of the board in RSU 63.
Just curious on the previous example there of the window replacement projects.
Yeah, probably not good.
Where's the line, I guess, between what, in that instance, and sort of doing your homework so you can get prepared for a vote, right? I mean, I guess there's a certain amount of sort of education that one might do to prepare yourself to make an informed vote as a school board member.
Sure.
Is that what you're referencing, or were they, in the example, were they doing something maybe beyond that?
Yeah, I think they were doing something beyond that in this case. They were preparing, maybe even preparing quotes for the full board to consider.
Okay.
Or look at this great report I prepared for the facilities,
Sure.
for the facilities committee or the capital improvement committee. So yeah, that's kind of a different. It's a fine line, though, isn't it? For sure. Yeah, 2 questions.
So I was just gonna say, like, how is that different than like when we're at the conference?
I literally was just gonna say
We're
that.
at the fall conference and we're making connections with the vendors that are there. Like, how is that? Or, you know, because they all say, well, what district are you in? Oh, I'm RSU 63.
Sure.
Can I answer that one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because we as a board voted for you to go
To
represent
that was my
the
question.
RSU.
And paid, presumably.
So we
right?
have
Yeah, at the fall district, so you are officially there on that capacity.
Very good. Brittany, what
That
was
was the same exact.
Same question.
In minds.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Very good.
And
So again, that's why it's such a good idea. Anytime a board member is going to do some professional development activity that requires a fee to attend something, it's always a good practice to have the board take action on that. Typically the way things work here in Maine is, or within our association, we push information out to. So, for example, in a couple weeks, we're doing a 2-hour parliamentary procedure live Zoom workshop on parliamentary procedure. And so that's been pushed out, and there's a small fee. And so we recommend that boards, if board members want to do that, and many have, that they would have, and that if they expect their board or their school district, their board up, to pay for it, that there would be, again, a formal action of the board. It's a formality, but again, just for the exact reason, Rachel, that you pointed out, so then you can interface with other board members from across the state or vendors or whatever it is. All right. Okay, so I'm going to review this with you. This is, if you wanted to pick a topic, this would be the time to do it. But then we're going to do our first case study. So I throw this slide up here now just in case there's something that really, look, we're only going to be here for another 50 minutes. We may not have time to get to everything, but I definitely want to make sure we get to this, and then you can decide. And if not, we'll just keep going. So the first is the role of the school committee or school board member versus the role of the superintendent. That will start in the next slide. And then I have 3 different case studies for that. We're not going to get to all of them. We may get to just one. But they're all, again, not so loosely based on real experiences. The next one is ethics, conflicts of interest, and nepotism. That's a very big topic in Maine school boards. And in fact, I was just reading I stopped at the Freshies on the way over here because I was early. And I grabbed what's the local paper here?
Bangor Daily?
No, it's the one it's a weekly one. Maybe it comes out of Ellsworth, perhaps?
Ellsworth American?
Maybe, yeah. It's a big one. It's wide.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was an article in there regarding RSU 24. There was a nepotism policy. Anyway, so nepotism and ethics, conflicts of interest, nepotism, very big topic. And there's a great case study related to that. It's called the heating oil contract that we can all relate to in some degree. Email and social media starts in slide 23, and the The case study there it's called the bus seat photo. Complaints from constituents. I know you probably don't receive any complaints from parents or staff. I'm just kidding. If you don't, then there's something wrong. You receive complaints, of course. That's just the nature of your job. And this section of slides will help you. I think it'll be fun to do the baking aisle test. That's the case study that really puts your knowledge of dealing with complaints or concerns from neighbors and fellow parents on the sideline. That'll put your understanding to the test. Public comment, slide 27. School committee self-evaluation, if you want to talk about that, is slide 29. And where did we go wrong is slide 30. Can I even talk about this? Confidentiality in executive sessions is slide 33. And this is the case study we're going to start with while we're here. And then the last couple, just do this and you'll be fine. And then finally, professional development for school committee members will be my very last slide, which I'll end with. So right now, before we go any further, before I let you weigh in on any of these topics, I'm going to take you to this one right here. Can I talk about this? Confidentiality in executive session. It's slide 33. We're not going to go to slide 33, but I am going to ask you to take out the case study that relates to that. Again, the case studies are on the left side, and I think this one might be all the way in the back, if I remember the order. All right, and as any good teacher knows, I was an English teacher in high school. People learn by visually, people learn auditorily, tactily. So I'm gonna read this with you, and you follow. Here we go. Here's the background, and you might think it's wow, this is so long. This is like 6 pages long, but a lot of these are it's just 1 page. You know, a lot of these are alternate endings and that you can look at together. So you are a member of the local school board. At a recent regular board meeting, the board properly voted to enter executive session under the statutory exception related to negotiations and real estate matters. And yes, in fact, discussing a real estate matter is a permissible, by statute, a permissible topic to enter into executive session, to abandon the freedom of access laws around public meetings. You may enter executive session, discuss privately a real estate matter. All right. The purpose of the executive session, as stated on the record, is to receive an update from the superintendent regarding a recent bid on a parcel of land that abuts the school campus. The property could be cleared, paved, and used to relieve long-standing parking issues during school events. Neighbors have raised repeated concerns about street congestion during home basketball games. All right, here we are. We're in the executive session. During the executive session, the superintendent provides the update on the bid, discusses timing considerations, answers board members' questions related to the potential acquisition of this property, and will we demolish it? Will it be paved? What's the cost? You know, all the questions that might go along with that. As the discussion winds down and before the board returns to open session, let me ask you this before we go any further. When you enter into executive session, do you leave this room and go, is this where your regular board meetings
No,
are?
they're usually in that. Then we rotate between schools.
Oh, you go to all
Yeah,
three
yeah.
schools. So if you were having a regular meeting here and you went into executive session, would you clear the room or would you all
No, we
leave?
go up to another.
Very good. I think that's better, especially given the fact that, well, first of all, your meetings are broadcast, and so you always wonder, is that camera on or off? You know, in executive session, right? It would be questionable. So that's a good practice. I would tend to do the same thing. All right. As the discussion winds down, before the board returns to open session, one board member asks, while we're here, can you give us a quick update on a recent suspension that I heard about from my daughter who attends the high school? And without objecting or pausing the conversation, the superintendent proceeds to share details of the suspension, provide background information, offer their opinion about the student's conduct and the appropriateness of the discipline, and then answered several follow-up questions from board members. The board then exits the executive session and resumes the public meeting. The afternoon, several days later, the family of the suspended student contacts the superintendent. They ask whether it is true that their child was discussed by name with the school board during an executive session. And then at the top of the next page, the superintendent now faces an uncomfortable and potentially serious situation. So the question is, what went wrong here? And just to speed things up, I think there were about 5 problems with this particular case study. Bridget, go ahead.
You said this was an actual situation?
It's based loosely on an actual.
Okay.
One being, they discussed something other than what they went into executive session
Precisely,
for.
yeah, yes.
And then the other thing is.
What should you do, Rachel? Not sorry to interrupt
Sure,
you.
yeah,
but
no, no.
Let's say let's say that Scott and Sheila have a series of executive sessions planned for a meeting, all the different topics, and they've identified the proper statutes within the motion pursuant to MRS A 20-A, whatever, to discuss legal counsel or discuss a personnel matter. How does that work? Can they just do them all at once? Or how do you all do it?
What we've been doing recently is if there's an action, I believe this is what we've been doing, if there's an action that needs to be done, we'll come back down, come into public session, do the action, and then we'll go back up.
What if there's no action?
In each action.
It's kind of silly, like, we literally will come down and resume public session and then go back in an executive session and go back up.
But we have a different executive session on the agenda.
Yeah, so like, then we go back and do it again.
It seems silly,
It
but
does. The public thinks it's silly because we
the
just walk back
purpose
down.
of it is because there are only certain things that you can enter into an executive session
Right.
for
Yeah.
that are clearly defined by statute. And then we got clarification several months ago
Yeah.
from our attorneys that even if there's something that falls under the same statute, but it's a different topic, we have to come out
Yeah.
and go back in. And it does seem a little
We
silly,
find it,
but
yeah.
it's for the purpose of transparency to the public.
Yeah, really, it's to adhere to the Freedom of Access Act. Really, yeah, exactly, yeah, exactly. And it is true. You can't take any action, but that didn't happen here in this case. There was no action taken. But you're right. That's the first problem. There was a clear purpose for the executive session to discuss a real estate acquisition or proposed real estate acquisition, and then they stayed in the executive session and talked about a completely different thing. Absolutely unacceptable. Number one. Number two, Britt.
Somebody obviously spoke about what happened in the executive session because somebody else heard about it.
That's right. That's usually the fifth thing that during these case studies that I'll do. I'll say, someone will say, well, wait a minute. How did that family even find out about it? And that's exactly right. Let's say all of this really happened. But if all of you had followed the rule about confidentiality in the executive session, that family probably shouldn't have found out about it. It doesn't make it right what they did, but it shouldn't. The family should have found out about it. So that's right. That's number two. What's another?
Student and family wasn't represented to
Yeah.
defend themselves within the executive session.
Exactly. If you're going to go into executive session to discuss a student disciplinary matter, you have to make sure that the student and his and their parent or legal guardian is represented, and typically they would bring along legal counsel with them. So yeah, that was number three. So what's some other problems with this scenario?
Is it appropriate for the superintendent to offer the opinion?
No, it's not. Thank you. So let's say hypothetically that this situation, which it's completely fictional, but let's say this particular disciplinary matter that they're talking about, and who knows what happened. It was egregious enough for one of your children to talk about it with you at dinner. Let's say that after the investigation by this principal, the assistant principal, determined that, so for you all understand that statutorily a principal or their designee can suspend a student for up to 10 days. They have lots of leeway there. So suspending for up to 10 days doesn't require action of the board. But what about in this case that the board, the principal goes to the superintendent and says, look, I think this needs a longer suspension. First of all, I'm not done investigating. I think we need that 45-day suspension. Or I'm really thinking that this child should have an expulsion hearing. All right, so now, what has happened?
Is this in the same executive meeting when it wasn't a topic?
Say it again?
Is this being said in the same executive session?
No.
Okay.
It's just this
Yeah.
scenario. So
Yeah.
the superintendent has done all those things, right? Weighed in, describe what happened, weighed in on it, gave her opinion, answered questions. So now, a week later, let's say the principal goes to the superintendent and says, look,
Bias at that point.
yeah,
Oh.
you as a board serve really as a quasi jury.
Right.
And so,
Are you willing to?
it's just not going to fly right now. Imagine if the family finds out about, let's say none of you said anything, and what happened in that executive session, as terrible as it was that took place, it never becomes public. Except now, this particular disciplinary matter is escalated to an expulsion hearing, and that now the family and their attorney and your attorney finds out that, oh my gosh, not only did the superintendent, present all of the facts, and some of them, by the way, weren't even accurate, and not only that, but then the superintendent weighed in on her own opinion on it, and gave you an opportunity to ask questions, and she answered those. That's going to completely destroy your credibility as a quasi as a jury, And so, very good, very true. There's one more that I like to always bring up, and I'm not going to spend too much more time on it, but I'm not sure how many of you have children in RSU 63, but I said earlier that I was my dad was my high school principal, and I used to tell him a lot of stuff, and I was almost sure that he never did anything about it. I just was sharing what I thought, and of course, 16 years old, giving my 16-year-old non-frontal lobe developed opinion on things, and I think that would be the last mistake that was made here, is that if you have a child in the district and they come home and they tell you something, that you have to remember, it oftentimes is a little bit slanted, right? And it may be some hyperbole, and that and you should never put your child in that situation. Talk to your child, not talk to your child, but just remember that what you hear, that's kind of privileged information, and for you to then take that and say,
parent hat on at that point.
you have your parent hat on, precisely. Keep your parent hat on and wear it proudly, but don't get those hats mixed up, parent hat, school board member. Yeah, that's good. 5 mistakes, yeah, good. Go ahead, Scott.
I think this closely ties into the baking aisle test part of this too, which, whether that's parent, another child, someone you run into in the grocery store, or even yourself witnessing something. We ran into this last year in an instance where you have to remember, as a board, you've got to try to remain impartial until a case is presented. And so there's always going to be conflicts, there's always going to be complaints, but it's got to follow a process so that if and when it gets escalated to the board, you can look at that from a clear objective, with a clear head, and not be, and be impartial, so that you can look at all of the facts and render the best decision that's really what's best for the district and best for the kids, instead of things that you might be prejudiced against, so if you have a complaint, whether it's yourself or, maybe I'm getting ahead of us, but I think it's important to remember the first step is our superintendent we employ, or the building administrator, and it's got to follow that process and go through that process before ultimately it lands on our lap. If we just immediately run to the board and share this disgusting event that happened, that we hated, we didn't like, we want something done about it, then you've really ruined your impartiality as a board by putting it out there and skipping like A, B, and C before we get there.
Well, I think that's great. I think this is great timing. Richard?
Should you always say, like, I'm here as a mom today? Or wear an actual, mom?
I think that's
Because I feel
very,
like it's
very
different
good practice.
But I feel it's
Yeah.
okay, I don't know, it's should I actually say that?
I think that you need to make it, all of you, you need, all 1,700 board members across the state need to make it very clear to their friends, to their kids' parents, to their neighbors, to anyone who they might interact with, that unless you say otherwise, you are talking to them as a neighbor, as a fellow parent, as a cheerleader on their kids' lacrosse team, as a shopper at the local Hannaford, not as a board member. I think it's really important, Brittany, to be explicit about that. I really
What
do.
about when you're like talking to your kid's teacher or
Even more so. Yeah.
literally say it every
Say,
day?
look, oh, I'm here, and remember, I'm here as Brittany's dad.
Yeah,
I'm not
Every
here. as a-
parent-teacher conference I've gone to since my kids were in pre-K, even before I was a board member, I will literally go in there and tell them, like, look, I'm not one of those parents that thinks my kid is perfect and does nothing wrong. Like, if they're being a little jerk, I want you to tell them they're being a little jerk. You have my support to do what you need to do, because without that, reinforcement, then you're gonna have a hard time with your class. And then, obviously, as becoming the board member, I had that conversation with both of my kids' teachers this year to be like, look, I don't expect any special treatment from me, for my kids, just because I'm on the board. I want you to treat them the same. And of course, one of them is a very, seasoned professional and teacher who's been here a long time. She kind of laughed it off, like, well, I wouldn't expect
But a
anything
younger teacher
different.
might struggle.
But the other teacher, maybe they did, maybe they didn't.
Yeah.
But I think it was important for me to clearly communicate that understanding in that meeting, to say, look, I don't expect anything special, and I can guarantee there'll be no retaliation.
And I'm here as a
Right.
as a parent.
Yeah.
Rachel.
So I know we did talk about it in that case study, but I just want to make sure we're clear on this.
All right.
So if we're in executive session
Yes.
and we end up talking about something that wasn't on the executive session,
Doesn't
the
germane to
MSA,
that for that particular motion.
is that topic still confidential then, though?
Anything that takes place in the executive session
Okay,
is
perfect, okay.
expected to be confidential.
Okay.
Well, I think this is a great time then to quickly look at how to handle concerns and complaints, and then let's see how you make out in the baking aisle. All right, so someone comes to you, where would they come to you in this district? Maybe
Soccer field.
at a soccer field. Oh my gosh, yes. Sideline at the soccer field, waiting for practice to end, and the parents are parking lot. I coach my
I stay in
kids.
my car.
Soccer with your earbuds in. Good idea.
Hey.
So listen, so here's what you do. They come up to you, right? They knock on your window. Nice try, Rachel, nice try. Roll your window down. Hi. Hey, do you have a minute? That's how it's gonna start. Hey, do you have a minute? Sure. And then you might at some point, very soon after that, say, now are we, is this, what we're about to talk about, is this from parent to parent, maybe about soccer, or is this, or is it because I'm on the board? I just want to be clear about that. And then you find out, no, I want to talk to you as a board member. Okay, well, you don't want to be rude, so let's see what you do. All right, you listen carefully and you clarify your role. You say, look, I may be on the school board, but right here I'm not a member of the board. I'm only a member of the board when the chair, bangs the gavel and calls the meeting to order. I just want to make sure you understand that I'm not here to solve problems as a board member. Clarify your role. Number 3, avoid the promise of action. And this is such a rookie mistake that I see across the state, even in the short time that I've been here, and certainly as a superintendent for 8 years in Kittery. Brand new board members with really good intentions will make promises that they should not have, right? Because almost always they can't keep their promises. So that the promise might be, well, I'll definitely follow up on that for you. I'll follow up on that for you. Ooh, you should never promise that. But you can explain to them how they can follow up, how to do that properly. So avoid any promises. So even if you can't escape, and you rolled your window down, they ask you if you have a minute. You've clarified your role. Look, I'm here as a parent right now. I'm just creating, my plan for the rest of the week. I'm not here as a board member. And then they want to talk to you anyway and say, look, I'll definitely listen, but I want you to know that I won't be able to do anything about this, but I'll listen. Refer to the proper channels, depending on what the issue is. If it's, my child has come home for the last 5 days in a row and said that lunch is not edible. Okay, so what, some potential ones? Well, you definitely could reach out to the school nutrition director, Mrs. Collins. She's very receptive to feedback. You could possibly reach out if there's, reach out to the assistant principal or something to that effect. While maintaining confidentiality and neutrality, you could notify the superintendent. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I really get mixed reviews on this one right here. I will say that as a former superintendent, if a board member fielded a concern from a member of the community, and not liking lunch is not a good example, but if it was something that, wow, this is it's kind of serious. I wonder if Eric knows about this. I always appreciated them calling, not emailing me or texting me, but calling me and saying, hey, look, I don't expect you to do anything. I didn't make any promises, but there's a possibility that this might end up eventually in your office, or certainly it could end up, it will be something that Mrs. Ellis, the principal, will have to address, and she might need she might ask you for help. So I just thought it would be good to give you a heads up on it, and they go ahead and explain to me, and I would say, well, that's good. I'm glad to know the details, and if it does end up with me, I'll have had an opportunity to think about it. And then finally, respect the chain of command. Now, my critics have said that by doing this, you're not respecting the chain of command, by doing number 5. So it's debatable. I was with the Augusta School Board recently, and they said, we would absolutely not do that. And I said, well, that's no problem. If your board chair or your superintendent prefers that, then that's perfectly fine. And you do have a policy KE, that really captures how to deal with concerns and complaints from the public. But let's put this into practice now with a case study in the baking aisle.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
So when you talk about like the executive session where people change the subject and they talk about stuff that they shouldn't be talking about, and then somebody comes to your window and is telling you like something happened and they want the board to know, those things are somewhat similar in that there's a skipping of the chain of command and a skipping of information, and so then that board member is aware of something and has a perspective already. They have a point of view already. So
from the
person who tapped
fellow
on the
parent
window.
who tapped on the
And
window.
or if it's their best friend, or if it's the kids are in the same class, or
Well,
so
yeah,
that's-
so what's the alternative? You still are, in addition to being board members, you're still parents, you're still members of the community, you're still members of a church, you're still on the soccer boosters club, you're still, you still socialize. I suppose that, living in a bubble and not communicating with anyone would be the safest way to function as a board member, but it's just not realistic. I say the same thing about social media. That's one of the topics here we may or may not get to, but when it comes to social media, what I say to board members is, look, avoid social media at all costs if you possibly can. It's what I observe time and time again, board members across the state who are making mistakes, getting into messes because of what they're posting on social media. I also understand, though, that social media, it's 2026, and social media, so it's part of the fabric of our society now. So to expect you to not be part of social media, that it's unrealistic. Same with this. It would be much better for you not to have these conversations. When someone knocks on the window, ignore them. If you're on the sideline, don't be near the other parents. Be isolated. But I don't think that's realistic. So you are inevitably going to be exposed and introduced to information that you may not otherwise have. That if you want to board member.
Just really quickly, let's say like a board member posts something on social media that's way out of pocket, like not something a board member should. What do you talk to them about it? Do you talk to the superintendent? Do you how do you?
Yeah.
I don't have social media, so I'm good.
I'm so glad you don't. I didn't either. And
It
was as a superintendent or as
It's everyone's.
a principal, it was heaven. My wife had a Facebook page that and I would sometimes, what's it called when you go in and pretend? I'd go in and look to see what was going on with family and that sort of thing, some of our friends. But I never did it. My name was never on it, and that's the best way to do it. But so the question, Brittany, is if a board member does engage in social media, which they absolutely do, and they have the right to do too. I mean, it's First Amendment right. They can do that. My advice, there are several pieces of advice I have. If you have social media and your intention is to use social media for your role as a board member, you have to have a separate platform for that than you do for your personal social media. Those have to be absolutely separate. And so you should not be posting on your personal social media platforms about your roles as a member of the school board. In fact, and I say that time and time again, and then I get reports of, well, I just looked at this person's Facebook page, and if you click on it, it says they graduated from this school and that they're a member of the RSU 63 school board, and it's their personal social media page. So no, those have to be completely separate. If you feel compelled to manage a social media platform as a board member, first of all, you should notify your board chair that you'd like to do that. You can do that, and their advice to you will be, for goodness sakes, remember that you have to keep that separate from your personal social media post, and that everything you post there is going to impact your role as a member of the board, and not just immediately. I mean, that will be, as long as you're a board member, a social media post that was made in 2026, in 2036 is something that people will be able to harken back to.
Yeah, and everyone else also.
Yes, everyone, exactly.
So if that happens, do you suggest speaking with the person directly about it?
So let's say it happens. Someone posts something that's unbecoming of a board member. Is that your question? Yeah. So how do you address that? I think that in my experience, I would have had the board chair, as a superintendent, I would have had the board chair speak to that person and remind them about the delicate balance that they have of not forfeiting their First Amendment rights, but also not putting themselves or the board entirely in a position that's going to cause harm or cause problems for the whole board. So weighing in on board action on issues, it's very tricky. So like I said, I'm not saying that you have to that you shouldn't do that. And in fact, it could be a very effective way to communicate with members of the community. Just to be very careful and to be mindful of the fact that of the things you're posting are going to be seen, and if you're posting them as a board member, that it is a board. It is going to be viewed as Brittany Wood, the board member from RSU 63, not Brittany Wood, the parent, or Brittany Wood, the volunteer.
We have a policy that mandates that they clarify that in their post.
Wonderful, good.
If you're talking about board business, if something relates to schools, that you have to put on that. This is my own opinion.
And that's a result of actually I can't remember if it was Minnesota or Michigan during the pandemic. There was a mayor somewhere who was posting about their town's response to the pandemic, and someone responded to his post, which he claims was his personal social media platform, although he was posting about town business. Someone responded and criticized him. He said, well, I think the way this town responded to the pandemic was horrible, and I'm embarrassed and all this. And so the mayor or the city manager deleted it, and that was problematic.
Gotcha.
You could delete it if this guy's personal social media platform, but if it's personal, probably shouldn't be discussing his role as a city manager. So as a result of that, our attorneys were very clear about anytime if you're going to conflate those two platforms or your two worlds of personal a personal person, just a citizen, and your role as a board member. If you're going to get those, if you're going to blend those together, anytime you post something that's not personal, then you would say, I'm posting this as a member of the board, or first, I am posting this as a private citizen. This has nothing to do with my role. But my best advice would be for you to keep those completely separate, as far away as they possibly can to each other. And the best way to handle it would be not to post about the board. That would be the way to avoid any problems. But let's talk about the baking out, because that's going to speak to a lot of the stuff we've just been talking about. You serve on the school board of a small, close-knit Maine school district. Sounds maybe a little bit like this one. It's the kind of town where the grocery store doubles as a community bulletin board. Everyone knows whose kid plays on which sport, and school board members are rarely anonymous. The board itself is a mix of experienced veterans and a handful of newer members who are still learning the boundaries between governance, management, and community expectations. You are one of the newer members elected with strong community support and a reputation for being approachable and willing to listen. On a Saturday afternoon, you stop at the local market to pick up a few items. As you're standing in the baking aisle comparing flour quality prices, a parent of a high school student approaches you. The parent quickly gets to the point. She is visibly upset and tells you she's angry with a high school basketball coach. According to her, the coach allowed team members to vote on their captains rather than appointing them directly. She explains that no player on the team has more experience than her daughter. Her daughter has played varsity basketball all 4 years and has been a starter since her sophomore year. In her view, the captain vote was nothing more than a popularity contest. She goes on to say that there is jealousy among the players because of her daughter's experience and success. She strongly implies that this jealousy influenced the vote and resulted in an unfair outcome. As the conversation continues, and you can imagine now you're trying to picture, you're making your way out of the baking aisle. You'd like to try to get out of the store now. And you're thinking that next time you're going to go grocery shopping in the next town over. The parent leans in and says, I'm telling you this because I know you're new on the board, and finally there's someone who will actually do something about the politics in the high school athletics department. Now all eyes, at least metaphorically, are on you. You are standing in the baking aisle, you're a school board member, you must decide what to do next. And then there are multiple alternative endings there that you can read your own, but what are your thoughts on that? What would you do? What would you do if you were in this situation?
Following those bullets, right?
Yeah, but what about that? What about when she says, finally, there's someone on this board who will listen, and I'm so glad you're on the board because I know you're the kind of person who will listen and do something about this.
No, you have to clarify your role. I mean, that is obviously you can be a sounding board, listen, like you said, but you can't just run away.
Yeah,
it's going to get back in some way.
It'll
you're not listening to.
Yeah, it'll be perceived as being rude.
But clarifying that you are there as a community member, you're not a board member, and needs to be stated very clearly.
Yeah.
So.
Very good. Brendan, what do you think?
Maybe say something positive about everybody else on the board and how maybe all of them are good at listening, and then send them to the person that they should actually be talking to.
Yeah. What do you mean by that? Something positive about the board?
No, they're kind of saying that nobody else on the board listens.
So maybe defend the
A
board.
little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Or say, it's really hard to be a board member. It's not as easy as you might think. Rachel.
Well, in a case like this too, I like to say sometimes, well, what did the athletic director say when you spoke with them? Well, I haven't. Well, go there, give that a try, and then if you get nowhere, work up that chain. But start there. Or, if you feel you haven't gotten anywhere with the coach, go to the athletic director.
Yeah. And then
Instead of just being you need to talk to the athletic director. Be like, well, what happened?
How did that go? How did your talk go?
When?
Yeah.
Well, I haven't done that.
Yeah, and what does the parent think, that there's a board policy? There's some sort of board policy about how captains are selected in the athletics department. I mean, this is illogical. And then, hopefully the hopefully the athletics director would have a good response to that. And if they don't, then probably it is going to be elevated to the principal. And ultimately, it might be something that the superintendent might have to hear about, but not until all these other people have been consulted about it, for sure. Yep, very good. All right, there's some the endings there too. You can read them and read some of those endings. When I want to go back to maybe we'll do one more of these case studies in a bit, but I want to talk about right here. board's superintendent relationship. So if there's a second policy that oh yes, Bree.
Before you move on, I think I'm
Please.
missing alternative ending number 3.
I think everyone was. I
Okay.
noticed that
All
earlier.
right.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We'll
Or
never know.
it's probably on the
Now I'm never gonna
it's
know.
probably on the photocopier back in my house.
It was a doozy.
All right.
There's the best one.
Yeah. Anyway, if there was a second policy that I would have you include, Scott and Sheila for orientation for new board members, it would be this one right here. BDD. You don't have one. You don't have a BDD. It's not a required policy. So I popped in our sample policy from the association, which your policy committee may decide at some point to adopt or modify and adopt. It just really helps to lay it out. But let me do it in the next several slides. So I created this infographic to help clarify the role. So on the left we have the school board. That's you, and your role is governance. On the right is the superintendent, and I include your team as well, Sheila. The superintendent, the principals, the leadership team, the managers, facilities, food services, whatever you have here. That's who's responsible for managing. So now let's kind of unpack this. Your role as a board member, you define the what, but the superintendent determines the how. So you say, as a board, you determine what's going to happen, but you don't determine how it's going to happen. That's Sheila's responsibility to determine how it's going to happen. You set mission, vision, and core beliefs, hypothetically, assuming you have something like that. But it's Sheila's team. Sheila's team is charged with developing strategies and action plans to make those things happen. You establish strategic goals and success indicators. Sheila's team implements board goals through operations. It's the management part of it. It's also the how. Oftentimes you hear that. You adopt policies to support the work, and Sheila's team creates procedures to carry out the policies. And in some cases, you'll also create the procedural policy to correspond with a board policy as well. But in many cases, that doesn't happen. There's not a corresponding -R, and if you've come across the -R in your policy manual, that simply means that it's a procedure for the policy that connects to it with that same code. But not all policies have a procedure. In those cases, your policy will say something like, the board will charge the superintendent or designee to ensure that this policy is carried out in accordance with the language of the policy, something like that. And so that's when Sheila and her team create the procedures to carry out policies. And you ensure adequate resources through the budget building process, which I presume you're in the middle of. You're in the throes of that right now. But it's Sheila's responsibility and her team to manage the day-to-day operations of the school. You provide them the resources, they do the work on a daily basis. You monitor progress and accountability, but Sheila's team oversees the use of financial and human resources. So here's the bottom line. Effective governance requires alignment, not overlap, between the board and the superintendent. Let's look at it again. There's a few succeeding slides that unpacks it even more. Maintaining clear roles and responsibilities will yield trust and requires clear communication among board members and the superintendent. Essentially stay in your lane. And let's look at those very quickly here. So if I were going to list these out for you as board members, and Scott, you have your own set of responsibilities as the board chair. The board sets the vision, mission, and goals of the district. The board establishes policies to guide district operations, approve the annual budget, hires, evaluates, and supports the superintendent, approves curriculum and graduation requirements, typically through policy, authorizes contracts, personnel nominations, and collective bargaining agreements. You ensure safe, supportive, and equitable learning environments. Essentially, you make sure that the facilities are adequate and safe and meeting the needs of the children, and that you represent the community's values and interests. The superintendent, however, serves as the chief executive officer of the district, implements board policies, prepares and manages the district budget, recruits, supervises, and evaluates all staff. So notice that you supervise and evaluate the superintendent, she does, she evaluates everybody else or her team. Oversees facilities, operations, and safety. Again, we're talking about Sheila's responsibilities here. Keep the board informed and makes professional recommendations. And finally, engages with staff, families, and the community on behalf of the district through effective communications strategy, etc. So the board, so know your lane. I'll recognize that my responsibility is not to operate the schools as a board member, but to see that they are effectively operated. And finally, the role of the board chair is much longer. I'll let you all read these on your own. I highlighted this one because there was one particular board that wanted me to address this. So the process includes presentations. So working closely with the superintendent to set the meeting agendas. And this particular SAU, this particular board that I was working with said, look, you've got to talk about the board presentations. Now, I don't know if you have board presentations here, but in this particular board, they were having 3 or 4 presentations every meeting, and the meetings were lasting 3 hours. Every board member, and it was a big board, so everyone had a pet project. I want to hear from the school nutrition director. I want to hear from the director of school nursing. I want to hear from the facilities director about the condition of the track. I want to hear from the athletics director about that new program that we just went from 11-man to 8-man football. I want to hear about that. And it got unwieldy and out of control. And so, my recommendation, well, if this is not a problem, I'm not going to talk about it with you, but if it is, presentations need to be, in my opinion, set in advance, in July for the whole year. So that way, you don't have all these, all these pet project ideas that board members want to hear about, and then your meetings end up being 3 hours long. And then you have 2 slides, Scott. So.
Oh, great.
Let me talk about this, and I know we're running out of time. This is my my attempt at creating a graphic to illustrate how boards communicate with school staff. So Sheila, you're the funnel. That's you, and the school board, you're down here at the bottom. In case you haven't, you can't see my designations here, and then the teachers, the staff, the administrators, directors. Their communication goes into the funnel, which is, remember, Sheila, and it funnels down to the school board. And the reason it's really important that we follow this general idea that communication really must flow through the superintendent, in both ways as well. You communicating with staff, other than the fact that if you're a parent, right, and you're going to a parent conference, that's a whole different story. You make it clear that you're there to wear your parent hat. But when school board members are talking directly with teachers, staff, administrators consistently and on an ongoing basis, it really undermines the role of the superintendent. And remember, getting back to that slide earlier about staying in your lane. If I were going to create a graphic that illustrated how communication works within the district as it pertains to the board, the superintendent, and the staff, this is what I would come up with. I know it's not perfect, and there may be some gaps and some exceptions to that, but by and large, that's really how it should work. And what I used to tell my administrative team in Kittery is, why it's so important for communication from teachers and administrators that they wanted to get information to the school board. Why it be important to come through me is, well, first of all, I really need to know about it, because if they have a question about anything, any type of communication from a school, they're going to call me. And if I don't know about it as the superintendent, then I'm going to look like I have egg on my face. So that reason alone is why it's important to have that communication flow through the superintendent. And the other thing is too, to make sure that it aligns, any communication that's coming to the school board, that it aligns with what your expectations are, Sheila, as the leader, as the chief executive officer of the district, and Scott, that it aligns with the board, what the board's expectations are too. And then finally, in a district where there's multiple schools, board members can be inundated with communication. And so another reason to flow that communication through the superintendent is to consolidate it so that board members aren't getting unnecessary or communication that's unnecessarily excessive from so many different directions, rather than having it flow efficiently through the superintendent's office. I think that's important too. I know we're running out of time. Yeah, how about questions? Any last questions? I didn't get to
Are you gonna come back and finish?
I can come back anytime, of course. I would love to. The conflicts of interest are so important, and this is the conflict of interest. The conflict of interest case study is so interesting, and I'll just capture it in 30 seconds or less, maybe 60. So in this particular board, there was a whole bidding process for fuel oil, and ultimately the finance committee recommended the low bid, which they should, and took that to the board, and the board voted on it. All board members voted on it. In this particular case study, though, the bid was awarded to Irving Energy. It's hypothetical. Irving Energy. There was a board member who worked for Irving. Not in the petroleum division, in the woods division, but nevertheless. So what should have happened in that case is, and you can read the case study on your own, what should have happened is that board member should have abstained from the vote and stated why. I abstained because I am employed by this company, not by the petroleum division, but by the woods division, but nevertheless, I think it creates the potential for a conflict of interest. People appreciate that, and I use this as my last word here, because that's the only time that you all should be abstaining from votes. You cannot. Again, this is not a statute. This is just good practice. Abstaining from a vote because it's a difficult vote, or because it might cause some nasty grams, through email to you possibly. It's not a good reason to abstain. The only reason you should abstain is for a conflict of interest, either through, through like the example I gave you, or through a relative. My board chair for 8 years in Kittery, her sister was the principal of the high school, and they had already been there, so there was no conflict of interest, or there was no nepotism violation there. But principal of the high school, and her brother was the school resource officer. Imagine, a small town. So anytime there was a vote on a contract, or a vote on renewing someone's contract, or any action that involved either of them, Julie was so clear with, I abstained because this involves the high school principal, who is my sister. And that was the only time she abstained from vote. So I guess in using the words of my high school U.S. history teacher, if you remember one thing from this presentation, I hope it's that the only time you abstain is for a conflict of interest, and that you explain it as part of your abstention. Explain it as part of your abstention.
I think a couple of us had abstained before we weren't present for the thing that they're voting on.
Okay.
Is that?
Yeah, because
They
you
have
don't,
no input.
you know nothing about it.
You know nothing about it.
You know nothing. Like even like minutes from a meeting if you
Yes.
if you weren't on the board at that time. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a simple one.
I know we're almost out of time, but I just had a question, because you just brought up like renewing continuing contracts, right? Or the school board's role, and we've had some issues. I don't know, do you think that's a question I should just email about, in terms of our role in...
Maybe the better way to phrase this is it common practice for school boards, in your experience in Maine, to not follow the recommendation of a superintendent on the renewal of a contract?
I've never heard of that.
And in those executive sessions, are the people present if you're going to speak about them? Or is that normal?
They have to be. If you're going to discuss a personnel matter,
Like hiring or like renewing? Specifically their contract?
well, if you're not going to renew them,
Yeah.
or if you're leaning toward non-renewal,
Just discussion at all? About
Never.
them?
is this for
This is hypothetically
is this for, yeah, of course. is this for probationary or is this for continuing contracts and you're gonna?
So
Like out of the first 10.
Yeah, probationary.
I think it could be for either.
Yep.
And there's actually policy for that we have, that we should, probably look into,
Take a
make
look
sure
at.
we're following.
So to her question,
I just, the reason I say that is I think, is it a common practice in your experience?
No.
I mean, you're the executive director of the state, we have 1,700 members. You would know if it was something that happened quite a bit or did not, so it's not a very common practice.
Not at all. But I would love to, if you wanna email me with,
Okay.
I can give you more, I can flesh that out.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's something that is important for
Would
Yeah.
the board to understand.
Would you want people to email like questions to you directly, or we could gather some since? we
Either
kind of-
way,
Would you mind if
yeah.
people want it, we could gather some questions?
Either way, or call.
Then we could all have the answer.
Absolutely, yeah, that would be fine, Sheila, you can email them to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, any questions that we, this could be a 3-hour workshop, and we
Yeah.
never have enough time.
So,
I'd love to have more, funnel them through me, Sheila, and I'll
Yeah.
push it back to you, and then you can distribute them to the board members.
I want to thank Eric for coming,
Yeah, thanks.
spending some time with us. I think very informative, very helpful, great start to this.
Yeah.
His card is in there as well, so I know he's always been responsive if I've had to reach out with any questions. I want to thank him for that. What we're going to do, just for those in the audience too, is we're just going to take a quick 5-minute break, so everyone can go use the restroom, do what they need to do, and then if you're sitting on these tables here, if you could move your seats to the other side and turn the microphone around so we can face the audience. Do that in that time frame. We're going to push it back a little bit. Where this was a makeup meeting, we did take a vote as a board to add that to the agenda just prior to new business, and that would be now. We did notice there was no one signed up on that form on the table, but I just wanted to announce that and see if there was any public comment outside of the town hall, the teacher town hall that we had before we moved on to new business. Hearing none, we will move on to new business, to the teacher and staff town hall. I'd like to thank those staff that have come and would like to share some thoughts, open a dialogue. I know there are some that expressed some concern and some that have expressed some excitement over this. So just want to kind of lay out a couple of things. Similar to public comment, we want to stay away from specific people, specific staff, specific board members. What can we do as a board better? Would be a great way to talk to us about what you want to see from us. And similarly, we want to share any thoughts, questions we have for you as well. I think it's important to have this dialogue, and certainly I think there is some talk and some interest of doing some additional follow-up with this. And for those that don't want to share, or don't feel comfortable sharing publicly, finding a way for you to anonymously do that. I think we're in a rebuilding phase in this district, and I think it's important to know that your board is behind trying to make sure that this continues to be a great school district. We've faced a number of challenges in the last several years, and we're very thankful for the staff that we have. You guys are great, and our kids, those of us that have kids in the district, remind us every day of how great you all are. So we really do appreciate that and your efforts. I think that the most important thing I could say as the board chair is that we want to hear you, but we want to be careful to also say that changes take time, and we want to commit to doing what's right, and for the district, for you, for the kids, but we also want to make sure that it's not a situation tonight where we're heavy on promises. I think this is the start of the process, and this is the start of the dialogue to improve the relationship between the board and its staff in the district. And I think, kind of having those realistic expectations put forth up front is important for me to say as your board chair. So we want to have that open dialogue, and we want you to come up, ask us questions, give us your thoughts, hopefully be open to maybe us asking you some follow-up questions to those statements as well. And other than that, is there any other thoughts or dialogue the board would like to add in addition to that before we get started? Yeah, we will.
Can you tell them that if they're not speaking, that they can do it anonymously afterwards? Or not?
Where are the rest of the microphones?
I don't know.
Great question.
We usually have 6 up here. Do you have any idea?
We didn't put, George thought that this space was small, and we don't usually use microphones in this space, so he put down 2.
Okay. We're going to have to share some microphones, this board of 8, so maybe we might want to bring it in and get a little more cozy and try to speak up. So,
We need one table, get rid of one white table.
do you want to repeat that maybe a little bit louder, Brittany, so everyone can hear you?
App said that if any of you are uncomfortable speaking in this format, understandably, that you can leave, an anonymous, like, paper, do we have papers for them? Like, can they write something anonymously? Do we have, like, the actual?
We don't, this survey is not put
Okay, so
together yet.
if you want to just write a note
It'll be
and leave it with
forthcoming.
us.
It will be forthcoming.
It would, yeah, but, or you can wait to fill out a survey, or we want to hear from you regardless. You don't have to speak in this setting. This is,
But we want to hear from you if you
Yes.
feel comfortable enough doing it. And I think, having some new, a good part of the board being new, having a new superintendent, this is a great time for us to listen. I've been in sales for a long time, and one of the best things I've learned being a successful salesperson is to know when to listen to the customer. And in some ways, I guess I would look at it as you're our customer because you take care of the children of the district. And if what we are going to do is going to be successful, it's trying to keep the decisions we make in the best interest of the kids. You're the one that spends the most time with them. So. With that said, is there anybody that would like to break the ice and go first? Brenda, if you could you want to push the button on the top of the microphone and wait for the light to turn green, and then it'll be on.
There we go. I just wanted to take the opportunity to say thank you. I've been here a long time, and I do not believe we've ever had the opportunity to do this, to actually look at our representatives and to have our opinion asked. So thank you very much. I love the fact that I think we are moving in a positive direction, and I think I'm hoping we'll get back to that time where we are working together as a board and a staff to make this a great place instead of what felt like for a while where we just were trying to crumble us to the ground and we got close, but we were pulling ourselves up. So I just want to say thank you. I appreciate this opportunity for you to hear our thoughts. We definitely have made some headway since what I would consider probably the worst position I think we've ever been in since I've been here. And we're slowly raising ourselves up. We have a long way to go, but I think the faces that I see want to work on that together, and that gives a lot of hope. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions before she sits down for Brenda from the board? Surprise. Well, I guess I'm kind of looking around the table, so speak up, please, so everyone can hear you.
First.
Hey,
You're like,
you know,
you gotta go first.
oldie moldy first, there we go, life works.
I don't know.
I've got a question.
Okay.
When I bought my house in Holden in 2008, one of the things that really drove me to buy a house here was that it was just known as being one of the best school districts around. And the high school choice is obviously very attractive and still is at this point. And I guess, I think we still have a great district in a lot of ways. We have a lot of great staff. And you've been here a while.
37 years, yeah.
I'm glad you said it, Brenda, and I didn't
Hey,
have to.
I'm old, I get it. 37 years and 11.
Okay, so no,
She still looks the same as when I had her for first and fourth.
so several people have had you. So with your tenure and your experience, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts about what has made this district so successful, so attractive to people to want to be a part of, to buy houses in this community. What could this board take away from, those things that have made it great and continue in some ways. I think we're still great in some ways, and in some ways we've got a lot of work to do. What has been the formula for that success in your time here, in your opinion?
I think what made us great is that as a staff, we were always asked our opinion on everything. We were part of all decisions. Not that everything that we said was listened to, but we were asked, so we really felt we had input. There was value. We were communication. People were talking to us, we were talking back, we knew what was happening. I mean, honestly, I found out about this on Monday. I didn't know this was even happening until Monday, and I was like, oh, okay, I think I can make it. So I think just communication and knowing what's happening and being valued was there, which made you feel in the classroom that what you were doing mattered. And the communication with parents and with admin, and it just was that we felt like we were valued, is really what made it great. And therefore we put that feeling, I mean, if you're feeling like you're not valued, then going in and working with the kids, you can't always carry that enthusiasm with you. So that was very much it. And I'm not saying it's this year, but in the years prior to this, the fear that if you did the wrong thing, you might lose your job. I mean, that was huge. That's why so many people left. It was like, you cross this person, you're out. You can't work in where you're feeling you're being criticized all the time. And to have somebody say, well, thank you, that was a great job. I noticed that, that was good. We're just like the kids. We say to the kids, you need to have 4 positive statements to every negative. It works for everywhere, to actually feel like we matter.
Follow up to that.
Sure.
It sounds like from your perspective, happy teachers who are supported basically trickles down or up.
It does.
It affects everyone and everything.
100%.
Everything.
Right. When you're feeling that you're being told, watch it or you're out, I mean, because I've been here this long and I know that we have just cause in our contract, I really have to mess up. Somebody can't just say you're done unless I really mess up, and then that's on me. But when we are this used to be a place, I mean, I came to school here as a student. When I came to teach, my teachers were here. People stayed. People retired from this district. That's not happening anymore. And I will be 100% honest. I've applied for a position once, and that's when it was like, wow, I cannot believe this. But by then I cost too much. So the people who are staying aren't necessarily because they want to be here, but they can't go anywhere else. We're stuck. Which I love what I do, and I don't feel stuck, but I have no options. Who's going to hire somebody with 3 years left and their costs at the top? It's not going to happen. We need to make it so people feel that they want to stay here, that this is the place to be. It felt like walking through the door that I was going to my second home. The whole staff was there for each other. You had support. If you had new people come in, there was enough older people to guide them. When you have a staff of almost brand new people and you have 2 or 3 that are seasoned, you can only do so much to nurture these people. We need to have that nurturing environment where the people who are new have support. And if they're having a problem, then you help them through it and you help them to get better. Because there's no way on earth, when I walked through the door, I was even a fraction of the teacher I am now. It doesn't happen. It takes 5-10 years before you feel like, yeah, I can do this with my eyes closed. And if you look at the people that are coming out, we're a revolving door. And we need to, having that home feeling and that, come on, you're under my wing and we'll go. We try to do that, but our whole administration, the top is gone. We have nobody here who's been there, done that. And you're doing something new in a new place for the first time. That's hard. I wouldn't want your job. And you have nobody to lean on because guess what? They're new at this job. And oh wait, you're new at this job and you've been here 2 years. Wow, that's hard. And we need to somehow be there for each other to make it so it's not so hard, and maybe ask people who've been around. Just because it's always been done that way isn't the answer. But we can change together and we can work for better. So that's probably way more than you wanted.
No, I wanted all of it. Last one for a second. Because I remember.
You made it more
differently.
people want to talk, Brittany.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
my last one. This has been bugging me. Back like in the day, I'm old now, but back back then, how many positions every year were open?
Maybe one or two.
Thank you.
And it was people who moved because their husband
Or like
moved.
fully retired?
Or they're retiring, or maybe they're staying home because they had a child.
Okay.
People did not leave this district.
When did that change?
I would say it definitely 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
That it was just like all of a sudden, oh, there was the year that 5 people at Holbrook were left. 5 teachers here were left. Because everybody left that year. I think when Susan Smith left is when things really went. And that was the year I applied someplace else.
Brenda, I'm curious to know, it sounds like we've heard from you about, I think what our staff can do to help teachers here and support one another and make them feel appreciated. What can this board do to make the staff feel the same way? Right? Because I think it's, we have some culpability in the success of this district and the happiness of the teachers as well. So I think that's an important thing for us to hear as a board, especially from someone such as yourself who's been here for 37 years.
I think coming in and seeing what we're doing. I know you guys all have jobs and you work and it's hard, but I honestly have said if you're on the board, you should have to sub for at least one day. Because it's so easy. I mean, we have retired teachers that sit in our meetings and say, well, when I went to school, I had 30 kids. Well, you know what? When Brittany was in my class, we could have 30 kids. It isn't happening now because kids are not the same. Society's not the same. The world has changed so much. Having the 19 I have, I can do it, but man, at days it's just like, so I think understanding that it isn't, well, it's always been that way, too bad. I think it's understanding that we all want what's best for our kids and that it isn't a you against us. I know when it comes to negotiations and budgets, it's like, well, they want too much. Let's do it together. I think just having that support that you are here and it's not, oh, you can't say anything or you're going to lose your job. So I think understanding what's happening in the schools, having times like this where we can just chat. I mean, there was a policy at one point, we were literally told you cannot talk to a school board member unless you talk to them all because the policy says you can't. And that was like, whoa, I can't ever say anything school-wise to any of you if I see you. Well, that's not what we meant the policy to mean, but I think sharing those things, what are your expectations? What do these policies mean? And we were doing it because this is why we think it's going to work for the kids.
Do you think the amount of non-renewals we've had in the last few years has had a detrimental effect on our
100%.
staff?
100%.
Okay.
It is absolutely mind-blowingly 100%.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, why would you come to a district that you know that you might not
Nobody
make
wants a
it?
permanent record non-renewal, non-renewal on their permanent record.
Right.
Right.
I mean, and they may say you can go ahead and resign, but it still doesn't make it any easier. We all know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other questions?
No, but I think we can say that at least to that last part, that is over. That problem with the I mean, we're re-taught tonight about that process of contract renewal.
So with that,
I would
I'm going to go
agree.
out on a branch and say that's over so that these poor people who have, it's just happened to,
I think it should be over, and I think until June it will be over, but I think I have to be realistic and transparent and say that there are many of us that are up for election, either next week or in June, and we can't speak in perpetuity for what the
That is
board competition
100%
will
true.
be, but I think I will say I personally have seen the effects of it, and I think, and we actually asked our presenter tonight, Eric Waddell, who's the executive director of MSMA, if it was a common practice for non-renewals of teachers, particularly when they are recommended by the superintendent, and the answer was no, it's not a common practice.
not a common practice. Notes being put in people's files is not the common practice. We have a lot of behavior that is blowing my brain, thinking that it just feels so negative.
Okay.
Positive talk, sitting down, having a collaboration, and putting things in writing so that we have a paper trail. We had a workshop Friday. And it was clearly stated to us if you don't document it, it didn't happen. And we're having a hard time having things documented so that we can say it happened. There's no paper trail. People won't email us back and tell us. It's like, oh, I'll talk to you in a few minutes in the office. No, I don't want that. Like I said, it's not comfortable doing this, but it's true and it's wrong. If we're having a conversation of what expectations are, it needs to be in writing so that we can look back on it and say, well, this is what you told me, I'm sorry, I misunderstood it. Instead of, oh no, it's not in writing, but I told you this. It's like, well, that's not what I heard, and we can't have that happening.
Are you saying are you saying a policy that, is there a policy that you're suggesting?
Well, I don't know if there's a policy, but I just don't think that when you ask a question that it always should be answered in person. You need to write, if I send you an email, I want an email back. We need to be having, especially when some of these tough conversations, and you're talking non-renewal and there's no proof as to why anything is happening and nobody knows what's going on. So, I have no need to know what's going on in other places, but because people come and talk to you because you've been there for a while, you know what's going on. And I think we need to have that feeling that what you're saying to this group and this group is the same, and you're not saying one thing to this group and another thing to that group, and when it isn't connected.
Sure, that makes sense. And just to clarify something that you had mentioned earlier, the late notice finding out Monday, you could totally blame me as your board chair to some degree, and I'll tell you why. Nate and I had been going back and forth for quite some time about specifics on this and how it would work, and obviously he's been a little preoccupied, and as have I with some things as well. But I think the reason why we continue to move forward with it despite some concern was this board took a vote to do this last fall.
I appreciate that so much.
And we knew that some of you, like yourself, been here a long time and had nothing to really lose unless you screwed up majorly. And so we appreciate you coming forward and doing that. So that is the reason for the late notice. It was, we were supposed to get together prior to the last board meeting, which got canceled or postponed because of the weather. And so it's just kind of come together last minute, but we're glad that you all have shown up. We're glad that you've recommended some things. And certainly there's going to be people that don't want to be public about this, and that's fine too. We're going to come up with a venue for that stuff to be shared too. So thank you. Anything else?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Who's next?
Don't look at me.
You've been nodding a
We're
lot.
looking at you. Come on.
You're the next
Come
one.
on.
Rebecca. Almost the oldest.
You're the next in order. Hey. There we go.
A little encouragement, set her up. I like it.
Only thing I have to say is, what do you want to know from us?
Do you like working here?
I've always liked working here. I wouldn't have
I
stayed.
remember when you started.
Yes, I'm almost as old as Mrs. George.
You know?
Almost.
I've got one. Do you feel that in the recent past, let's go back between 1 and 5 years, that the board has been too involved in the day-to-day operations of the district?
Yes.
And why?
Because I think some of their involvement centered around their children and changing things to go with their views and with that would benefit their children. I don't think they were looking at the population of the school as a whole with some of the decisions that were made.
Great, I appreciate that,
Yeah.
and I agree with it, for the record.
Yes, Brittany?
What is something that this district used to be known for that you miss the most? Like, what is like one thing that that you could count on and then it just vanished and you don't know why, when, or how? No, like you can think about it.
Yeah,
It's a hard one.
some of it was we would have people coming from out of district and they would tell me they picked this district because we had such a good reputation online. I haven't heard anybody say that in quite a while.
One time.
And I don't think the teaching per se or our values have changed that much. I do think our reputation took a hit in the last few years.
It's a hard one.
Our applicants clearly show that.
Oh, yeah.
For positions continuing to be open or the lack of applicants
Yeah.
in general.
And I mean, we've got good people, we found good people, but I don't know if they're gonna wanna stay if we keep, we gotta go up and not keep going up and down, back and forth, all that type of thing. I mean, I stay in my room and I do my thing and I do the best for every kid that comes through in my room. But some of the new people don't know how to do that because they're brand new. It took me a while to get the even keel, you know? It takes a while to get your style and that type of thing. And those of us that have been here, like Brenda said, we're trying to help them, but there's not enough of us. And it would be nice if we had more subs, if we could recruit more substitutes, because there's days when the principal's dancing and assistant and they're filling in an hour here, hour there at a time. I mean, that's not good for the kids or the adults, because then we don't get our prep time.
I can only imagine. I think Juliana had her hand up first, and then we'll go to Rachel.
Yes. No, over there. Okay, sorry.
Mine was similar to hers. It was just, you said you like it here and that's why you stay. Like, what are the reasons you want to be here and that keep you here?
Well, I think I see this staff as a second family. And I find myself, I am a person that likes routine too. And I live in the town and I'm part of the community. So, I mean, I want what's best for every kid that comes through, whether they're the smartest kid or the clown in the room or whatnot. I want the best for these kids. They become my kids. I don't have kids of my own. These are my kids. And I'm going to do the best I can with every kid that comes through. And I think the smallness helps with that.
So, I know there's a lot of new staff, and you can't do anything about experience, but what are ways that it could help get that family rapport back and help with the experience in keeping staff, do you think, getting that kind of?
I think they need more support.
Do you have like a lead teacher type situation? Like, do you have like a teacher mentor program? And did you?
We do. I'm mentoring somebody. Anybody who's been in the building more than 2 or 3 years is trying to mentor, but even if you've only been there 2 or 3 years, you're still juggling the balls. I mean, it took me 6, 7 years because I went from third to fourth, third to fourth, third to fourth my first 6 or 7 years. And now that I've been doing fourth for, what am I on, year 27, I got it down. I mean, I know basically what they're going to say. Because 9 and 10-year-olds are pretty much very similar. But it's taken that long.
Do you have student teachers still?
I haven't had one in a while. And that hasn't happened since Susan Smith, I think. I've had some come in for field placements and stuff, but our reputation went downhill and they don't want to come.
That is the reason?
I think that's part of the reason.
Would that help?
Student teachers? I mean, it would help, but student teachers aren't as much help as you think they are. Some of them are great and are ready to jump right in. Some of them are in the corner and don't know what to do. So some of them are more work than help.
It's probably like a regular internship, right? Where it's more of a lead generation to get new teachers in the door.
Yes, and I mean, they have to do their student teaching. It's, I think it's still 8 weeks for each one. Anybody? No, yeah. They have to do 2 placements, 8 weeks at each, but they're watching you most of the time. And by week 2 or 3, I make them start team teaching and get up and everything, but there are some that are really uncomfortable and they're not ready.
Rachel?
All right, so I have a few questions.
Okay, I'll try.
I'm right as you were talking.
Okay.
So the first one, you mentioned subs, like
Oh, yeah.
we need more subs.
Mm-hmm.
And I realize that if we don't have them in our sub pool,
Mm-hmm.
is there a recommendation thought on how we can expand?
I have
Again,
no
like
clue.
someone would want
I
to come
don't,
and sub here.
yeah. I mean, I have no clue how to get subs, but we need ideas of how to recruit more.
Okay.
Because there are days that people call in and there's no sub and we gotta make do.
Hold on before you go into the next one,
Can I
superintendent's
ask a question
question.
about that? And this is something we could talk about at a staff meeting too.
Yeah.
But this is a difficult topic, and I'm just wondering, does the staff ever have suggestions on how to fill the voids during the day? Because I know the principal does what she
Yeah.
needs to do, but do you guys ever have conversations that are like, we should do it a different way? When you don't have a sub and you have the need for it, do you have other suggestions or things that you've thought about that we're not doing to get everybody through the day?
Not that I can think of right now. I mean,
You know, I know it's a scramble, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's on- it's like, oh,
somebody,
it's
my
not
kids
bad.
are in art, then
Yeah,
you go
yeah,
cover that
yeah,
room, and that's
yeah.
what we've been,
Yeah, I think that would be helpful for us, though, to know, like, if you guys have ideas.
Because we're in survival mode, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're
Pretty much
at.
right
We're in
now,
survival mode when we have absences.
Yes.
And I think finding substitutes is about as easy as finding bus drivers right now.
yes.
So I think part of what we're hoping to do is to turn this district's reputation around so that people
Yeah.
want to come apply here, work here, stay here. Meanwhile, we're keeping all of you happy that are here, right? Because I think my first meeting as chair, I said I had 3 priorities, right? One was trying to make every decision based on what's best for the kids, and then getting and retaining good help, and being fiscally responsible, and in that order. And if it costs a little bit more, we still have to answer the taxpayers, but we don't have teachers to teach, we don't have a school system.
Speaking money, I just had a thought. The classroom budget is the same as it was when I started 27 years ago.
It's like supplies,
Supplies for each classroom is the same amount
okay?
as when I started 27 years ago.
So, I mean, can I speak to that just as a teacher? At another district?
No, Amy, you can't.
So I think, maybe many of you know, I teach in Orono. I teach at the middle and high school. I teach middle and high school English, depending on the year, but mostly middle school. And I've been teaching for 20 years. And this is the 3rd district that I've taught in, but I'm very happy at Orono. I've been there for 10 years now, and I will hopefully stay there until I retire. So your budget system, so in Orono, which is a similarly sized middle school anyway, we have a budget that we fill out ourselves I just did it last month, right? So, and we put down what we think we need. We have a spreadsheet, and it's like got different, areas of like books and classroom supplies, which would be paper, or like how much at Amazon or Walmart, how much for conferences, and so on and so forth. And so we say what we think we need, and then that gets determined, like it's approved or not approved by the board. So,
For the budget.
so you're just
For the
told
budget.
what your budget is.
We're told, what is it? 350 to buy everything I need for the year.
$350?
Yes.
And 27 years ago, can we just do the appreciation on that and give them that instead?
So if you've ever wondered why one of my children's teachers had a wonderful QR code for their Amazon wish list at open house, it's a great idea. I actually have to ask my wife if we bought anything. I'm going to feel bad if we didn't since we brought it up.
It was a good idea.
Yeah, I think this is why this dialogue is important. I can't say we're going to sit here and promise that you're all going to get $1,000, but we're in budget season. We're going to take a look at it. We're going to see what we can do. If that does seem kind of, to me at least, a little bit
A
small.
class pack of colored pencils is $100 now.
And
I mean-
I think it's something that we can maybe look at.
But that doesn't count like your curriculum and all that stuff.
No, it's just
That's
the
like
classroom
folders and
supplies.
pencils
Supplies.
and the
Okay.
supplies for the class.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like if I need to replace a science experiment that broke or something, or if I need a different poster because we changed the curriculum, or paper, pencils, all that. I bargain shop like you wouldn't believe, because $350 doesn't go far.
Right.
So if you want to go to a conference or something like that, that comes from a different area?
Yeah, that's a different line.
Okay, so it just sounds like the whole thing, but I think that it's good to know that that's been, the
Yeah,
same
and-
amount, something we can think about. in the
And
future.
I will add, as someone who signed warrants for a short time this year, and as your board chair since June, I was a little bit disheartened to find out that during some warrant signing sessions that we were making decisions about what was appropriate or not for material purchases. And I will go on record on saying I don't think that that is correct or right. think the job of a warrant signer is to make sure that funds are not misappropriated. So if something is within the budget for classroom supplies, the aggregate budget, in my mind at least, there's no reason that that shouldn't be approved. And I will apologize that this board was not always following that practice at times in the past. So it's one thing if you're $5,000 over your budget for something, that's different. But that's really what I focused on during that time that I signed the warrants was, where are we at with things? Like, oh, yeah, the energy bill for the 3 buildings, it's mind-blowing.
Oh, yeah, I believe it.
It's mind-blowing. But that's the thing you look at and you say, okay, are we getting our contracted price, right, that we bid out? And then is it within the budget? Okay, sign off on it, move on to the next bill. And those are the things that I think we need to realize. The question was, were we too involved in the day-to-day operations? There's a prime example of where I think we were. And it's not our job, right? The board's responsibility is to hire and fire our superintendent, to set policy, and to develop a budget, and then try to stick to it.
So you asked, or you mentioned that support, you feel like you need the support, the teachers need the support. What does that look like to you?
Well, they need support on classroom supplies, they need support on training, they need support on just time to meet with their mentors and do stuff.
So let me ask you a question, because, and this kind of goes like with appreciation too, because I feel you probably don't want to feel appreciated. Like, I know sometimes we've done like a breakfast, like the first day of school, or like, are those things, do you see that as being appreciation, or do you see that as just some cheesy little thing that's being done? Or like, if we were to surprise you someday with like a coffee bar for, drinks, not school appropriate drinks. Maybe not a D&M, no. School appropriate drinks that you can have. Like, would you feel appreciated, or would you be like, well, that's something cheesy that...
I mean, it's nice, but I'd rather have more pencils and paper, to tell you the truth. I'd rather have paint that I just bought at Walmart so I can finish the paper mache models. It's nice, but not really what I need.
Sheila had a quick question, and we'll go to Juliana.
Can you just tell me if there's ever been a time, because I come from districts mostly like Amy described, where the teachers put together budgets and...
It's never been like that.
And the departments will be like, this is our limit, what do you need, maybe I don't need it. Do you guys ever have those conversations, or you just all go off and spend your own $300?
We're told we have $350 for each classroom. And the grade levels, some partners, the 3 of us would get together.
Yeah,
And we would buy, but,
Yeah.
we have different styles, that type of thing. Sometimes we would do that,
Yeah.
but you're still talking
Yeah,
maybe $1,000 for 3 classrooms.
yeah.
Jamie, can I put you on the spot?
Me?
Yes.
Sure. Maybe.
Since you're a business manager in another district, do you have any idea what that number looks like in your district, or in that district?
So we have historically followed a model similar to Amy's district, where the teachers put in requests for what they're looking for. Can't guarantee you're going to get everything that's on there, because we do have to kind of look at who's getting what. Our district has tried to shift to a different model this year to try just to make it more equitable for all of the teachers.
Would you say
And
it's less than,
fiscally
more
responsible.
than, equal to?
I'm sorry?
Would you say it's less than, more than, or equal to 350?
Probably more.
I would say it's probably slightly more.
Okay. Juliana?
I was gonna say, what do you think, and I know it's probably different for all of you, but on average a year, what do you think you spend on supplies?
When I first started out, very little, because my older team teacher would say, I got it and whatnot, but I'd probably spend about $500 a year.
Something that was.
So that's above and beyond the 350?
Yeah, my own personal money.
Juliana, it looked like a sore point based on the reaction behind her.
In 1999, if something was $350 today, it would be $725.
Okay.
Yeah.
And kind of going back to the subs, I know we
Yes.
have a hard time finding subs, and it sounds like we need subs frequently. do you think absences are higher now than they have been in the past?
With teachers, you mean?
Yes, like teachers and ed techs. And do you think, I see some nods from my corner, but do you feel that their absences are higher, and do you think that's because of the feeling of lack of support and all the things and not wanting to be here?
I don't know, because I'm one of these people who shows up if I'm dying, because I don't want to write subplans. Because it's more work to write subplans than it is to drag myself in. So, I mean, but the crew back here, I don't know. Anybody else want to speak up? I don't want to be the only.
It's more work to write sub-plans.
Yeah, so a lot of us drag ourselves in. I mean, I'd have to get up, go in, it's just not worth it. Chug some cold medicine, put a mask on and go in, it's just easier.
Back to the school supplies. Sheila just wrote me a note, and I think it's important to clarify. We have a new superintendent, 5 months in now. There seem to be some comments I've heard from teachers and parents that it was not allowed for teachers to fundraise, solicit, put out things. But I saw in some cases it did happen, and some it didn't. Would our superintendent like to set the record straight in this format about?
I feel like this needs to be a conversation with
Let's do it.
everybody to talk about what the need is and what, how to do it rather than do what's always been done. But also, I do think parents want to contribute in some cases. If there's wish lists with items not over a certain amount of money, or let parents have the opportunity to do that, I think in some cases parents like to.
So this is a day-to-day operational decision, right? So it does rest with our superintendent. So just to clarify, you have no issues with?
I don't have issue with asking parents. I mean, I wouldn't ask them to give you like a $100 item, or maybe you put $20 items on a list and they can buy 5 of them if they want. But there's got to be a way to do that seems fair, and I think.
So would it be fair to say that you're okay with this happening with certain parameters, perhaps?
Yes.
And if there are specific questions that teachers have on how to do this, that they should direct them through their administrator?
Yes.
Through you?
Yes.
So to the principal, or the building administrator, and then to you?
Yeah.
Okay?
Happy to.
There you go. You got your answer. Hopefully that helps. And to those of you that were doing it anyway, good for you. Chip has a question.
Okay.
Reputation was a word that came up a lot with you and with Brenda. I'm curious if you could put that into a few topics of what caused that decline in your mind, and how did you climb out of that?
Can you help me on this one, Brenda?
Just an action plan.
Yeah.
She was in Augusta.
Come on up,
And got
please.
the comments about us.
I did too when I was there.
I get them all the time.
Can I go?
Yeah, sure.
You can for now, but I did have one more question for you back before the night's over. Fair warning.
So I'm Julia Alley. I teach kindergarten. I've been teaching for 20 years now.
20 years.
20 years. 20 years, yeah. Believe it or not. So I think our reputation kind of started going downhill when our business manager, like 10, 20, 15 years ago, was stealing money from our district.
Oh, I remember that. I just heard about that.
That started then. And more recently, I was in Augusta for a conference. I was doing a pilot program for the DOE, and a teacher who I had never met before was like, well, what do you teach? And I said, Eddington. She goes, oh. I was like, why? She's like, oh, I've heard about that district before. I'm like, okay. She's like, so she started rattling off some things. I'm like, okay, yep. And I'm like, yep, all that's true, yep. And so I'm just sitting there, enjoying myself and hearing all these things that I've never heard. I've never talked to this person before, and she's told me all these things about our district that are true and not so great. And we've been in the news before, and that's not so great too. And we have amazing educators here, and we have great kids, and we have awesome things, but it just feels like we're not always painted in the best light, and we need to kind of switch that somehow and make sure that we're always looked at, or at least try to be looked at in the best light, because we do really good things here. So yeah. PR, there we go. Maybe you can do that.
Not that it's going to make you feel better, but I think those school board members that attended the fall conference got the same reaction when people found out they were from 63.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. And it was not a good feeling when I told them, because I am proud of where I work. I am proud of being
I
a
think we're all
kindergarten teacher
proud to be
for 20
here.
years.
It's just how do we fix it? you know?
And exactly. And there have been times, and I'm going to be honest, I applied for jobs. I tried to leave. But again, I'm like Brenda, I am too high on the scale. And no one's going to touch me now because I cost too much money. And it was more recently that I tried to apply for jobs. And it was disheartening because I love it. I love being here. I love the people I work with, but it was just too much of the other stuff. So I'm thankful it didn't work out because I don't think I could not teach with some of the people I work with. That part is amazing, but it's just, I'm hoping moving forward things will get better.
Well, we're thankful for you too, and for as long as you've been here. So thank you.
Yeah.
And this whole time, I thought you guys were like soldiering on with us. Like, we'll get through it together, but it was just the money. It's okay. It's fine.
I mean,
We're here to help.
it's, yeah, so.
Well, I think she also said that she couldn't imagine not working with some people, so I don't think it was just the money. I don't mean to speak for you. You correct me if I'm
No,
wrong,
yes,
please.
yes.
Brenda, and you two are doing your presentation Monday night, and
Yes.
you've done a lot this year.
I look forward to that
and it's gonna-
presentation.
Yeah.
And maybe helping the first grade do it, and helping the
Yep.
pre-K do it, so you guys have a lot to do, so just settle
Yep.
down. Settle in.
I'm locked and loaded, it's okay.
All right. Any other questions?
No, but I'll just comment, I mean, I know Maine is small, and teachers see each other district to district.
Yeah.
And I know that reputation, you know, everyone that I work with knows what it's like here, right? And then, like tomorrow, I'm going to the Maine English Teachers Conference at the Cross Center,
Yep.
where there'll be teachers from all around the state. And I also empathize with the sub-plans. I was after work for an hour and a half, getting ready for
Yeah.
the first day that I'll be out this year, you
Yep.
know, because I know it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Because even with that hour and a half, I'll come back Monday and chaos, right?
It's gonna take 3 days to get your kids back.
Right, and to put my room back together, who
Yep.
knows, you don't, and
Yep.
subs are in shortage everywhere, like that's a problem everywhere. And teachers, because I work in Orono, we are probably the first place for student teachers to be sent for
Yeah.
convenience, and we're just not seeing as many even in our district.
Yeah.
So that should be a concern everywhere, like the lack of kids, college students going into education.
Yeah.
You know, it's scary what they hear in the news, and the attitude across the country has changed towards teachers.
Yeah.
And so we're fighting against a lot of things, but I think that is something that can be rebuilt. If teachers here in this district start to have confidence in us as a board and start spreading the word, you know, which happens little by little at conferences, at different PD days and that sort of thing, then people will want to start to come here again. So I think, but it's going to take time, and
Yeah.
also we have to prove that we are going to, you know, do these things that we intend to do. And of course, the faces of the board will change, but we can make an effort to pass down to new board members, like this is really the way things should be done. And, you know, this is what the teachers need from us. But yeah, we definitely appreciate those who have stuck with the district through, you know, the difficult times, and hopefully, you know, this ship is turning around and that word will get out.
Yeah. And in terms of sub, just something, I don't know if it's possible, but something that might attract subs is raising the sub pay. I'm not sure what we pay right now, but that might be something that could help as well.
120 is what it is this year, and 133 next year.
Oh, okay.
More than my district.
Fabulous, okay. It was just a thought that popped in my head when you
All
guys
right,
were
so for
talking.
those of you listening, recording, it's 120 now, and it's going to 133 next year, which is higher than the district
It's higher than a couple of towns.
that one of our board members is in, so spread the word. We'd love to have a longer list, so, yeah, any other questions, comments? All right, thank you. Appreciate it. All right, I want to go back to backup before I forget, and honestly, it's for the second, third, and fourth grade teachers and anybody else that wants, in that group that wants to discuss this. At our last board meeting, I want to commend Sarah for coming up and making the statement that she did about class size. Another highly controversial topic,
Yep.
just like closing a school. So I did it prompted me to do some research. I'm a planner. I like to look at things and analytics and stuff. And so, here's kind of follow-up questions I would have for this group. So when we look at the student counts for those three grades, they're pretty similar. 54, 52, and 48 as far as the last principal's report. So if we were to go to a fourth teacher for third grade next year, which is what's been asked based on several circumstances that were detailed in the letter, then my fear is, what's to stop third and fourth grade from asking for the same thing, which would be fourth and fifth after that. Knowing that when we add a teacher, when we look at pay and benefits and retirement, even at step one, we're closing in on $100,000 annually. And then we look at the student-to-teacher ratio, which in that particular grade with the highest number drops to 13.5 with 4 teachers. That's the hard sell for me, is to not be fair to all the people that have a higher number than the rest of the district per grade, number one. And then how do we justify that into the taxpayers and an overall budget? Right, so those are like the million-dollar questions to me, to say, like, hey, there's no doubt when we lessen the load on the teachers and we have lower student-to-teacher ratios, particularly in grades where maybe we have some challenging students, that better results will come of it. And then it's always trying to find the balance of that versus the cost of it. That, combined with the fact that if you look on a website, which is publicly available, there's a thing called a 279, which is our funding report from the state. Anybody have any idea where we're at with that this year? So because of the valuations in the towns that have changed with revals, because of our student enrollment dropping, we are getting over $500,000 less from the state in the upcoming fiscal year than what we have in the current year that we're in. And so this is the challenge that your school board has in putting this budget together right now, that the Budget and Finance Committee is working really hard to try to make this work and find out what we can do. The good news is, hey, we've got a lot of openings this year, right? A lot of things we didn't fill, or we just filled, right? So we've had some savings in our budget there that I think, but it's not going to be forever. And so I guess I'm curious, from this group of teachers in these 3 grades where we have those challenges, are there other things that we could look at that maybe wouldn't involve another full-time teacher? Are there, that you could tell the principals, that you could tell the superintendent, you could tell the school board? I mean, our job's not necessarily to be meddled in the weeds and the day-to-days, but ultimately we have to create a budget which has a certain amount of teachers, a certain amount of budget for the teachers, the benefits, the building expenses and everything else. And that's what I'm really struggling with. I want to try to honor every teacher request that we can, if it improves the lives of our students. And then we have to try to balance that financially and responsibly.
Before you answer that, can you say the numbers again? Because I thought that I remember it being like 30, 40 something, 45-ish, and then it was like one that was like 70 or like 65. I thought there was like one grade that just had like the COVID.
I could be wrong, and I think I haven't looked at the packet that's coming for Monday, but I believe the last packet, I think it was 54 students in second grade, and teachers, correct me.
There have been students who have moved to other places this
Okay.
year, and at the beginning of the year, we had some students that were not coming in because they were going to different schools, and
Okay.
circumstances just changed. I did teach first grade last year, and now I'm in second grade, and
Okay.
first grade definitely had more students last year than they do now in second grade.
And so on the report that we get a report from Stephanie every month that has student numbers, which I think are probably based on something within 30 days or so of that report, correct? So in February, maybe that's changed, I could be wrong, but what I remember seeing was 54 for second grade, I think it was 52 for third grade, and 48 for fourth, or maybe third and fourth I have back.
I got like 51.
51, okay, so
Yeah, it's
fourth grade was 51 or 52, then it must be third grade is 48, okay. So pretty similar numbers there, but,
So there's not an outlier class that just has like 20 more kids or 15 more kids than the other?
Not that,
well, those are the three grades that have
Not
the
second, third, and
highest
fourth,
totals,
no.
I believe, of K through 8,
Yeah.
right? If I'm,
Second grade, third grade, and fourth grade have
anybody,
higher numbers.
any of the staff disagree
Second
with
was
that?
a huge class, now they're normal, is what I'm getting.
No, they're not normal, they still have 3 teachers. They've,
There's,
I don't mean normal, I
What?
mean.
Coming into second grade, we had way more kids than what we have now. We've lost kids. So yes, we
Like
were
15
looking at like
-ish.
60 kids coming
Okay,
in.
yeah. Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
All right.
so do you think we're at a point where we could try to manage with 3 teachers next year, given the choice? I mean, just hearing all of the things I just laid out, I mean, I hate to put you on the spot, but we're here to discuss things. We're not promising anything, and we're not asking you to, we're just asking for opinions, like we're talking it out.
I think Emma teaches third grade, so like that would be the class that would be affected. So I think I'll kind of pass it off to her.
Okay.
So, yeah, so some of the benefits of this are we have 2 first grade classes right now. So there's going to be 2 classes in second grade, basically no matter what. Or we're going to have 3 very small second grade classes. So it's not really going to change the number of teachers. It's just going to be a shifting of the number of teachers. 13 kids is an optimal number. I had a year where I had 12 kids, and that was one of my best years of teaching. That was a really productive year for me. I understand what you're saying about the numbers. 13 sounds really low, but if we look at the needs of the current second grade as they are right now, it seems like they would really benefit from a smaller class size. That might be different when they're in fourth grade. A lot of growth happens over third grade. I have seen kids mature so much in that year. And then they go to fourth grade and that Bessie's a completely different kid. And
they don't grow that much.
so number of size, I hear what you're saying. Like maybe we could save some money by having keeping at 3 third grades. Or these kids could have an opportunity to really get a lot of help and support that I think they would really benefit from, and hopefully we can help them get that maturity, and they can thrive when they get to fourth grade. And
So you're not talking add another teacher, you're talking move a teacher at a grade level.
Yes.
Because second grade will only have 2 next year, and take one of those second grade teachers and have them do third grade next year.
Did Pennington always do that? Like back in you guys shifted every year?
Yeah, there was
I think
4,
we're
we
always shifted
shifted.
based on the needs of the enrollment, right? I mean, that's
Yeah,
what you have to do.
I had 28 for a loop, and I'm sorry, but you get over 20 and you have
Sure.
1 adult, and you are not meeting all those needs.
Well, again, I as a parent, speaking as a parent, I think one of the other attractive things besides high school choice is knowing we don't have class sizes of Bangor or Brewer, right? So people like that too. I think it's trying to find a balance. I mean, I think it's important for the teachers to realize too that the budget in the 3 towns passes collectively. And last year, it passed by the smallest margin in recent memory at 60-40. So that's the other thing we've got to keep in mind is that, it's a big chunk of someone's tax bill if they own a home. In Holden, I'm not sure in Eddington, Clifton, but in Holden, it's 57% of their bill. And we have to realize there's 25% of the residents of Holden actually have kids in the system. So 75% do not. So yeah, it's one of those things, but it's a balance, right? And I think it's important to realize we're never going to please 100% of people. So
I haven't yet.
we have to try to do what we think is best for the kids, what the taxpayers will vote on, and what will keep all of you happy and here and employed and doing good for our kids. And I think that's the hardest juggling act that we have, is trying to do all 3 of those things simultaneously. What about in terms of the challenging grade that we have that's moving up? I know one of the classes is heavily male versus female. Are the other 2 similar, or is that anything that could be looked at too in terms of the allocation? Stephanie or any of the teachers, anybody that wants to speak to that?
Between what grades?
In second grade, like I know, well, my son's in one of those classes, and I know that there's a lot of boys in that class.
Yeah.
And that can be challenging. Okay.
Yeah, when we like look into splitting them up for the next year, there's a lot of things that we have to consider, like academics and behavior, and also like, do these kids get along? So oftentimes when we, like already now when second grade is looking at splitting these kids up, there are so many kids who can't be together that splitting them into 3 groups, like there's not going to be I feel like there's going to be, each class is going to have a
Different
struggle.
issue?
Yeah, there's no way we can split up into 3 groups, you know, making sure that there is not like a heavy high academic group, or, you know, this classroom has all of the kids who really benefit from extra support. Like we try to do it as evenly as we can, but then we also say, well, these 2 kids really shouldn't be together, so I'm gonna put him over here, but he doesn't get along with her, so I can't put them together, but these 2 are like the lesser of the evils. So there's a lot that goes into like splitting them up, and I would say that if we did have 4 classes to split them up into, I think the kids would benefit in like they'd be happy. Some of these kids that are together, it's almost, you know, constant fighting, and I think that their school year, I think they would have an easier time learning. I think they would feel safer at school. I think there would be a lot of benefits besides like academic. I think that, you know, emotionally they would benefit.
Okay. Well, I think that helps. It elaborates on your statement from last month, and it gives us some feedback throughout the 3 grades. Again, I don't think we're here tonight to promise anything in stone, but it's good to hear this so that Stephanie hears it, so that Sheila hears it, so that your board hears it, and then we can take this back and I guess, you know, look at some different scenarios that may or may not work, and rely on them to recommend in the budget what they want to move forward with. Because ultimately, they're the administrators, right? And we've got to stay in our lane and put a budget together based on their recommendation. We can have some influence on, you know, how many teachers can we afford? You know.
So, yeah, they're not saying add somebody, they're saying shift people.
Okay, that's important. Yeah, I'm glad that was a clarifying point for me at least tonight. So, great, thank you. Thanks for coming back up here too.
Okay, anything else?
Anyone else?
Okay, I'm good.
Okay, who's next? Got lots of staff here. That's a fake smile, Audra.
Audra, you've been here a long time. Come on.
I guess just as someone who got to the opportunity to student teach here and
Is still here.
become a staff here, I just want to thank all the wonderful people that have supported me and my journey. I mean, I've been so blessed being at Eddington and now at Holden. I would not be the teacher I am without all the staff members here. So I'm incredibly lucky. Thank you guys.
I want to add something as well. So Jenna and I started the same year. We've been friends since we were 15 and 16. So like having the opportunity to be hired at the same time, we called each other. Like I got first grade, I got second grade. It was just so exciting. And it was difficult because she went to Eddington, I went to Holden. But I have to say as well, I would not be the teacher I am without the people behind me. I am so lucky to have got to meet these people and learn from them. And something that a third grade teacher says a lot, Val Palmer, she said she knew she was home when she walked into the staff room and people had crumbs on them and they were like, hi, everybody. Like they were just so welcoming and so comfortable. And that's the way it's felt with the people that I work with. And I have to say also a big thank you. Like just seeing all these people out here, we stick together, we are family, And I'd love for that to remain here at Holden and Eddington and Holbrook, you know, having that family of staff. And I think that that will always remain. I hope that that will always remain here. So I just had to say that.
Just a tiny question. How often do you guys all get together as a group?
Outside of school?
Yeah.
Not as much as we used to, we're tired.
They're older, they're old.
No pickleball league anywhere?
I do wish there was more opportunities for collaboration across the district because I was not lucky enough at Eddington to know the staff, the wonderful staff at Holden. And I was blessed with Julia and Brenda and Andrea. You guys were a good shoulder to cry on during my first couple of years. But I guess that my hope is that in the coming years there can be more collaboration across the three schools so that we can all get to have opportunities to get together and be on the same page about what consequences look like across the district and some highlights and some different things that we can work on as a whole district. There's not really a chance to get to do that all together, so I would love if that was an opportunity.
I'll ask a question, but it's pure ignorance. Is that something like a workshop day could be created?
We did that on Friday.
Is that-
You mean like Friday, more
Yeah.
Yeah, Friday was wonderful.
Okay.
That was a really good PD.
I was thinking there's a set number of those per day for team building and things.
But we
At
want
least
them
that's
to
my
be
understanding of it.
useful, and we want them to be about time together, and we want them to, we don't, things that are not necessarily urgent, I don't think are helpful in the middle of a busy work week to like put on teachers, so it's my goal that people get together more than anything else. You know, talk about things that are on their mind and have some topics, but then also have time just to have coffee. So I hope Friday had some of that, and I hope we could do more of that. Not what? Yeah.
Juliana had a question.
For those of you that are new and toughed it out through the difficult years that were recent, obviously pay wasn't probably the thing because you don't have all the years of experience like we heard about. So what was it that kept you here in this district?
I guess I'm the main character tonight.
What kept me here was the kids. I get to see, my sister teaches at Brewer, and everybody's giggling at me because I'm like, hey, the popcorn.
Well, hey, back.
My sister, she teaches at Brewer, and it's a much larger school, and she doesn't have the opportunity to get to know all of the staff in the building. I'm blessed because I get to know all of the siblings and all of the parents, and I see them at events that are local. So the popcorn machine's going, but I guess that's what keeps me here, is getting to see all the families and their kiddos. It's a very special district, and I have felt fortunate to be here. So
I think for me, it would definitely be the staff. When I came in, there was a very core group of teachers that I feel like had been here forever, and they would tell stories of how it used to be. There was a water fight at Eddington that I hope that can be what I grow into.
And water fight was not. And we won.
Yay! I wasn't here for that. I was probably in middle school. I don't know. Sorry.
oh my gosh.
But this is, I look forward to when we can all get together at Las Palapas or just have a time when we can meet in a teacher's room and just talk. Not about the kids, not about what's going on at school, but just talk about our lives and just know that I could call some of these people and they'd be there to help me in a heartbeat. I would also say for me, this is my third year, this is my second year with our newest curriculum. I have this curriculum down, so I feel so comfortable teaching it that I want to stay and I want to continue to grow in that curriculum as well.
So don't change it.
Can I ask you a question? You referring to HMH and iReady?
Yes.
Yep.
I'm happy to hear that. Thank you.
Yep,
I would
I feel
agree.
very confident in what I'm teaching. I'm not sure that everyone could agree with me, but as someone who was kind of thrown in my first year, not knowing how to do anything, but then my second year really taking time to learn it, and now in my third year, my second year of this curriculum, I feel very confident in it, and I would be nervous to go somewhere else and have to learn something brand new. So I would say being confident in what I'm teaching is definitely something that makes me want to stay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I actually, when I was in first grade, we got to pilot the program, both programs, so I would totally agree that having a curriculum to back you, and you don't have to follow all of it to fidelity, but it is so supportive in your first few years to have an idea of what you're teaching daily. So I agree with Sarah. And once again, the wonderful staff here. I mean, come on, they're amazing people, and I'm beyond blessed. So.
We were such families. We helped Rebecca move. We helped Julia move. I mean, we were a family. They'd say, "Hey, I need help watching my dogs," or what. I mean, that's the way we've been, and that's. But when the door keeps going, you don't have a. I honestly say at Friday, I didn't know half the teachers at Holbrook.
Yeah.
Didn't know who they were.
Yeah.
I think if we had a moment where we could even say, "Hi, I'm so and so. I teach this grade," because I'm like, "Who's that? Who's that?" We don't know who these people are. I mean, I know my building, and I know most of them, but I still, it's like, I don't know who these people are. And it's hard to make that connection.
And the fact that I'm only 41 years old and I'm the seventh from the top out of all the staff here is crazy to me.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Would you guys want to do things like outside of workshop days, or would you prefer?
I don't know, we used to have
Christmas party.
Christmas parties, and we'd hang out with each other there, and it just.
What was
like-
one staff member invited, whoever, in the
Right.
one staff member, we had some people who had big houses, and we did the Fall Fest.
Oh, yeah.
Holbrook, yeah.
Fest.
And then Elena Torello
Yeah.
always did Christmas at her house, so we just did that. I mean, because we liked each other.
Yeah. And we were together forever, so it's.
And oh my
like-
God, the stories we can tell over and over again. It's the same story.
Because you all always worked every year together. There wasn't like a constant.
Right.
So that's what changed that, was like just a million new people, and it was.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's 3 or 4. I think I'm the longest in the building, in my building. Who's been here.
I'm the
No,
longest in
Diana
the
Porter's
district,
a year before me.
Huh?
Diana Porter was a year before.
Yep.
But other than that, I mean, everybody else is not as many.
Yeah, for reference, when I was hired 4 years ago, I was the first year teacher in the school. The next newest person was Matt, and then everybody else had been there for 5 years or longer. And now I'm in the middle of seniority at 4 years.
I think something that I personally would love to see is like more opportunities for teachers to observe each other teach, and more opportunities during PD days for teachers to share what they are doing in their own classrooms. That is like amazing. Like, because I'm an art teacher, if you don't know me, K through 4. And like, I see people do all these amazing things, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I could just watch them teach. Like, there are people who are so good at behavior management, so good at like hyping their kids up and being like the queen of positivity. And I just like everyone has all these individual like really wonderful talents, and I wish we had more opportunities to like see each other and like learn from each other more.
Yeah, appreciate that. That's good feedback.
And I think like your building administrator or what, do you do learning walks? Like, is that just an Orono thing, or do you guys do, like, we have to put together a binder of our work every 3 years for evaluation. And one of the things we have to do a couple of learning walks, and that means we have to go visit other teachers. Like, I might go to visit a high school teacher, I might go visit
and kind of just observe. I don't say anything or do anything or whatever. I just am there to observe their classroom practices, and I can pick who I go see. And I think that's really good practice, right? But the thing is, like, you have to have, like, my building understands that when I'm doing my learning walk, they have to provide coverage for me to do that, right? So that definitely, I think it's an easy thing to arrange. It just has to be something that becomes part of the school practice.
Yeah, and I think the more we can get towards a full staff, the more realistic that is. I mean, I was astounded last spring when we had 22 openings, 22. Not counting, spare bus drivers, just core staff, 22. It was unbelievable to me. And I think, James did a good job this summer of coming in and filling a lot of that. So I'm very thankful that he came in and Sheila's come in behind him and continued to hire. I do want to solicit some feedback, and it's okay if no one wants to talk about it, and that's fine too. But the part of this is, having some dialogue on some touchy-feely stuff, right? So we don't want to talk about the specific people and positions, but we've made some kind of drastic changes to some upper-level stuff in the district. And I guess I'm just curious what the feeling of the group is on those three things. But also keeping in mind that we haven't really had a good, in my opinion, a good chance to properly fully evaluate them because of the situation we're in. So the first thing would be, we're back to having a superintendent who's also the director of curriculum. That's something Susan Smith did. Has not happened since. We've also had all new office staff at the central office. We've also been trying to find a business manager. So I would fully understand why maybe the director of curriculum part hasn't had the attention, perhaps, that in a normal world we would want. But with a district our size, to me, from a fiscal standpoint, it makes a lot of sense if we're running on all cylinders. I think it's a doable thing. And that's kind of what your school board voted to do, was to renew her contract to do that. The second thing is, we've migrated away from an assistant principal for the elementary schools and instituted a lead teacher. And so I can imagine that your principal has had some unique challenges without a second administrator and somebody who's supposed to be teaching and is the person that the building reports to when she's not there. But again, in an optimal situation, trying to maximize efficiencies as a district, I'm curious about your thoughts on that. And then lastly, Holbrook is no different. And we hired a teaching principal who's supposed to teach no more than one class. But yet we've had openings, just recently filled some of them, which has kind of set that up for an impossible task as well. Those are some critical decisions that are part of this budget process that the school board has to work with the superintendent to figure out in the coming weeks. I would invite you to share any thoughts you have about that. Not about the performance of the individual that's doing it, because I think we've almost asked each of them to do an impossible task this year, but in terms of the way that would be set up if we were functioning again as a district. Thoughts? And that's a tough one to come out on. And so if you don't want to share it, and maybe, is Becca getting out? I think she might be. So if you want to come share, please do. But, this would be something on that follow-up anonymous thing. Talk to us about it, But again, focus on the role and not necessarily the person at the time, because we've got to be functioning for this to really work too, right?
Yes, and I took that assistant teaching principal to when Spencer was here, and I was that person, and Brenda was that person, and it's not an easy job. So I did not apply for it this year, even though the pay went up quite a bit. It went up quite a bit. So apparently there's value in that job now. But I don't think we need more administration. I really, we're a small district. Right. And I really thought for a while there we had too much administration. Because if you count the numbers of kids and you count the numbers of people in administration, it did not add up in my head when I was still making way down here.
Sure.
I mean, I started at 21,000 when I was hired. So, it has slowly crept up to I can live now. But I really do think administration has to do double jobs in this district. Just like the teachers put on 2 or 3 hats.
Sure.
I mean, when the guidance counselor's not in our building because she's in the other building, we throw that hat on and do the best we can that day. Or if the nurse is out of the building and whatnot, that type of thing.
Well, our
Everybody.
transportation director drives.
Yes.
The size of our district.
I mean-
I think those are the realistic in my mind, and I can
Yes.
speak for the whole board. This is Scott's opinion. That in my mind, those are some of the sacrifices I think we have to make in a small district to make it work.
Right, I agree.
To some degree, because you're right. We don't want to be too top heavy. We want the resources to be in the classroom,
Right, and I think for
or I do anyway.
a while, we were too top heavy because we kept hiring more administration. And I hate to break it to you, I needed you in my room helping with the kid over there screaming at me, instead of more administration.
You're saying less administration, more teachers.
Right now, I think we're doing okay on the size of our administration. Because now we have, you're doing 2 jobs and I get it, it's hard, and it's hard to balance, but I don't think we need 2 separate people. That's my opinion.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay.
And I would invite any of our administrators to offer their thoughts to this board if they should so wish to. I mean, that's one side of it. You guys are doing the job every day. Is it unrealistic what the board has put in place?
Can I speak to that? Because I feel like I'm imagining an office where it's fully staffed and everyone is not on a learning curve and whatnot. We haven't had a business manager, and curriculum and instruction is like, I get so excited. So when I go to your monthly meetings and I get to sit in, it just gets me so excited. And when I spend a Sunday looking at data and things are going up, trending up, it just gets me so excited. So I do feel like a full year of a little bit of being new superintendent under my belt and a staffed office, we can really do great things next year. And as some of you have said, the curriculum, the HMH, and the iReady are becoming manageable. And when I first got here, before anyone was here, everything I heard and read was like, oh my God, this was a mistake, this iReady is too much, this HMH is too much. So to hear that it's working is really exciting because there's a lot of good material in there, and I'm noticing people picking out what's working for them in it while also staying along a trajectory of scope and sequence, and that's exactly what we want to be doing with it. So
We weren't really given any training on the programs.
yeah,
We had like a sales rep come in
yeah,
on like the last day of school.
yeah,
Where we were all so brain dead, we
Yeah.
weren't even,
paying attention, exactly.
tell you the truth, yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
It was a pre-recorded video.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
That we all watched in our classrooms.
Yeah.
Of them saying, this is this.
this is this,
Here's what
this
you
is where
can
you
buy
find it.
along with it.
Yeah.
So is that something that would still be helpful at this point where you've been using it a few years or no?
I don't know, because we've kind of felt our way through it now.
Yeah.
And there's at least one person in each grade level who knows how to get stuff through the computer.
Yeah.
Because that is not easy.
I feel like what Helen said, that people that have an expertise in an area, like data, or iReady this, or, drilling down into some of the programs or whatnot, that's what we need to showcase and put those people in front to share what they know about programs.
That would be great,
I think
but
that's, we'll get the time.
when are we gonna do that?
Yeah, we'll do it.
Do
we'll
you
it.
think having someone who's new to the district or new to this curriculum, having a training for them specifically would be beneficial?
That would be helpful, yes.
And the hardest part was we got 2 brand new programs at the exact same time. So it wasn't like, let's get used to the HMH and then you're gonna do the iReady. It was, you have both figured out at the same time, and it's like, I was like, okay, which one is the mods, which one is this? I literally, it's like, they were so different and it was hard, but now that I have to say I agree, having it under your belt, it's like, wow, okay, I can do this, I know what we're talking about now.
Yeah, yeah.
And it is still hard to find this stuff on.
I came into the schools and I sat down with you when this first happened. Do you remember? Yes. Okay. And you were like the first person that was outspoken about that whole thing, and I had no idea what you were even talking about. But since then, how do you feel about it?
I do find aspects of the programs, or most specifically the reading program, it's kind of this carte blanche, like, oh, you can do whatever you like. Yeah, which, when you're just trying to, like, prepare for Monday morning, get ready for the week, can be a little bit too much. But at this point, I kind of figured out what works for me, what works for my students, and I have a structure that I can follow, so I've been able to get through it. But getting two programs at once was a doozy.
And I remember you saying something about the amount of time that it takes to input things. Is that still a significant amount of time? Because I think you said something about using that time. Oh, the time that you're supposed to keep, like, for the day, and the weekends and after school and all that stuff.
Yeah, so
Is that the data chart?
I think it was the data wall.
Yeah, that.
So the data wall, we still have a data wall. It's hard down
A wall.
now.
Okay.
So that's less of a time limit.
And we found shortcuts of how to input the information quicker.
Yeah, Ashley Perry helped with that.
And I think
We're gonna share
having people who can help you. with
Yeah, who know how to do that.
Who can help
I
you
hate-
put it in the planner and get the
Yeah.
links going and.
I've learned on the job as I go. I mean, you throw a new program every time and I'm like,
Thank you for coming, appreciate it.
what would you like me to do with this program? Because I've never done it. And I was the generation that I went to college with a typewriter. So I've been learning this all as the kids learn it as I go. So there are still gaps where like, how do I do this and that? And I have to go to a coworker. Because here's your computer. That's how it was given to me. And I'm like, I have a laptop now? I'm staring at it like, what am I doing with this when we first got them? And then I'm supposed to teach the kids how to do it too? That's a big training for us. Will be helpful before we do it with the children.
Well, I do have in my board report submitted today for Monday's meeting, the thing I shared, the little data review I shared with you guys at the last time I saw you at meetings, of the growth district-wide in reading and math and using the iReady data. So we're learning how to use it, and our kids are showing that they're learning from you guys. So yay for us.
Yes, I mean, we're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, good dialogue. We kind of skipped over our two administrators in the back. If you don't want to share anything, then that's okay. But if you want to share anything, are we being unrealistic of our expectations of you? You both have really had some significant and at times unique challenges presented over the last several years. And you know, we have to, your superintendent, your board has to decide where we're headed, and you're a big part of that too. So anything you'd like to share, I would welcome you. And if you don't, that's okay too.
I just like to say, reiterate, like, been here 23, 24 years, and probably I have a passion for the district to a fault sometimes. But I want to see this district succeed, do well, and get back to where we were. Because I'm here, and I do believe in this district, and the students and the parents and everything.
And if you're fully staffed here, Michelle, is what we're asking of you realistic?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. The fall was rough.
Oh, I'm sure.
Somebody had to do it, so there were kids that had to be taught.
Well, and I was, you know, whether people agree with me or not, I think some of us were a staunch defendant of you because we asked you to do one thing, and what you ended up having to do for half the school year was 100% different.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like you could really say, oh, this is working or this wasn't working. We haven't given it a chance. And so that's, you know, I think that's kind of where I was trying to lead with that, is from a staff perspective and from you guys' perspective, is what we're trying to set up here realistic. Because these are the hard decisions we have to make as a district as metrics change. And we're never going to keep everyone happy, but we have to be functional, and we have to keep, you know, the majority happy and engaged. So that's important for us to make sure that we're not asking something that's unrealistic from a teacher's perspective, but also from an administrator's perspective. Okay. Thank you. Stephanie, anything to add?
No, I just wanted to thank you for trying to move us in a positive direction. Trying to help them.
Okay, thank you. And is it realistic for what we're asking you to do with the lead teacher in a building?
I think so.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
So I just wanted to say a couple things from a community member. I'm non-biased on either side, by all means, but I work in a high-energy healthcare setting, right? And so I just was curious as the board looked at the open positions that are still open, where we could hire a local agency to actually fill those positions and what the cost it would be for the district to help alleviate the stress and the barriers that we're facing every day.
A temp agency, is that what you said?
Yeah, we use it for physicians, we use it for, the entire healthcare system. But it's considered a local agency where they hire professionals that are working at the top of their license. And I don't know if the DOE has that for folks or not.
So I don't know that we do, but it's something we can look into for that. I know that's a potential option that we've considered pursuing potentially for the business manager, where we're having a hard time getting that position hired, and and we've been without one for a long time, and certainly for any other positions. But I think part of what we have to do to fix this is we've got to improve the reputation of this district, and that starts right here at the top with this board, and us supporting the superintendent, supporting the staff, and doing what we think is best for the kids. And past board members have always done what they thought was best, and the results are the results. It works or it doesn't, right? So you can't fault a person for doing what they believed in. They were elected by their towns. I think we're headed in a slightly different direction than we were a year ago. I think there are some things that could come out of this that would benefit this district. But, Amy was just telling me, I hope you don't mind me sharing this, last week, that, she, as a teacher in Orono, was on a hiring committee for a position in her district. How many applicants did you have, without saying what the position was?
22.
22 applicants. Imagine having 22 applicants for a position and being on the hiring committee and just being able to be like, oh, well, we've got choices, right? And so I think if we can show the world as a board that we're functional and that we're going to work together, and we may not always disagree, but we're going to respect each other, and we're going to encourage good dialogue, and we're going to support whatever the vote and the outcome is, and then we can show you guys that we care about you, we want to support you, and there's no reason, I'll just come out and say, there's no reason that contract should have taken so long to finalize with you guys, and I'm sorry that it did. I really am. And I'm glad it's finally done. And I think we tried to show that we could be better with the administrator's contract, which we did get done quicker. We chose to renew Sheila for another year. Maybe you agree with that, maybe you don't, but you know what? Can we really say that she's failing at her job after 5 months? No, let's give her a chance. She's passionate about it. Yes, she's a new superintendent. She's curriculum heavy, but she really cares about the district. And so I think that's the key that I would ask of each of you, is just to say, give it a chance over the next year. Try to let it work out. Be supportive of one another. Be supportive of this process, and know that this board is going to be supportive of the same. And I think we're also going to try to make sure we stay in our lane. That's been a big problem, in my opinion at least, is that we need to understand what our role is as a school board, right? And we want to listen to you if you have a complaint, but we also want to go through the process. So we want to say, this is the process. There's a point where it comes to the board. And then if you still don't feel like you're getting heard or felt or whatever, guess what? The school board has one employee. It's the superintendent, right? And so if we can't let the superintendent do their job and do the day-to-day operations, and we have to meddle in it, how do we hold them accountable? We can't. We can't. So, I think that's my opinion. If anyone would like to elaborate on that, disagree with me, I would encourage you to, but I think, I've talked to each one of these board members, and I think we're all committed to trying to do what's best for our kids, and that's really what this is all about. It was funny, our board workshop with Eric, what did he say? We actually don't represent our constituents, right? What did he say? We represent the kids. He was right. Your school board represents your kids. Our decisions should be about the kids, not anything else. And we may not always agree with the teachers or the administrators, but.
And when he says our kids, like not our kids, but our kids.
Right, yeah, not my two kids in the district, but the kids in general, right, and try to do it. And I mean, I laugh, and I'll share this story with my interaction with Brenda this fall, because my youngest is in her class, and I said at the open house, I said, just so you know, I don't expect any special treatment being on the school board or the school board chair, and if my kid's a little jerk, I hope you treat him like a little jerk at home. And she goes, well, why would I do any different, right? But that's Brenda, she's been here forever, and and I told both my kids' teachers that, because I said, well, I guarantee you, no retaliation from me just because I'm on the school board. I'm not going to leverage that position. It's not right. It's not going to help anything, right? And so it's about our kids, not my kids, not any of our kids. It's about all of our kids collectively. And I think if we keep those things in mind, we're going to have a great district, and we have a great district, but we're going to be a better district. I think that's maybe the best way I can put that. So, any other thoughts, comments?
One that I personally, I don't know if the whole board feels this way, but have the most faith in your leader at the helm. If you guys don't know it yet, she's got this.
Thank you.
So go talk to her about it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
What time is it?
It is 8:15, so we've been at this a while.
Another one of these?
I really appreciate this. I hope for the people that didn't make it tonight, you can go back and share your experience if it was a good one. I certainly would hope that it's not our last one that we do, and it's a good way to, I think, just kind of start a dialogue and improve the relationship we have, because it hasn't been great with the board, let's face it, so.
I guess to go off that, how, if you guys could choose, how often do you feel like having one of these with us would be beneficial?
Or even a small group one even.
I would love to see the school board break into groups and go after school to the library and let there be like meetings where you can go in and have conversations that feel like less eyes all over the place and you can just kind of talk about things. I don't know, I've been sort of rooting for, I don't know if that's possible. And I come from a district where we used to go for walkthroughs, the board would meet and the superintendent, like the leadership team would meet, and we were all broken up into groups of 3, and for the year we had dates when we would walk through the various schools, and I might have been with my superintendent one day, or I might have been with school board members one day, but it was a really nice way you didn't go through with a clipboard or anything, you just went to see what was going on. And there's things like that I wish we could do to include everybody just in the seeing of what's going on, because when you're in the classrooms and when you're in the schools, you guys really are, it's like, it brings me to tears most days, because the kids are just so excited to be there, and you guys are always busy, the classrooms are lively, and you all have your own style, and if that was like visible to the school board in walkthroughs, I think they would just get to see you all in action, and that's what makes it all worthwhile, I think.
Consensus for how often? Once a year?
3 times.
3 times a week?
3
times a year. Okay.
And if we ever did like a walkthrough, would you guys be comfortable with that or uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Okay. And so when you get beyond a certain number of school board members, so many of you may not know this, it constitutes an illegal meeting. And so part of the concern we had today, or some of the people I think within the union, your union had, was that this was open to the public. Well, it has to be, because of state statute. And so that's why this was a public meeting, that's why it was posted. And I'm glad some of the community came and was able to speak and talk and stuff, but that is why we can do some things, like Sheila says, with very limited groups, but when you get beyond a threshold of a number of board members, that's when it becomes a meeting, and it has to be a public meeting. just like any subcommittee meeting, like budget, finance, or policy, or, things like that are as well. So just keep that in mind, and if you're wondering why this couldn't have been closed off, that's also why. So, did you have something to say? She seems to think you do.
That girl. There's some pretty big shoes on.
No.
You have a comment to make about my shoes, Scott?
No, ma'am.
I have been approached by 3 different schools this school year, trying to poach me to go to them. And it was really tempting, but I love this community. I love the schools. I love my coworkers. I want to feel more supported. I want to feel like I know that people have my back to stay. And there's nothing that I wouldn't do for these kids. And I know that a lot of teachers back here feel that way. And I want the teachers to feel supported.
Can you give like one example of a time that you definitely didn't feel supported? Not like specifics, but just like a generic thing, or maybe like, can I ask that? You guys are looking at
So
me,
we're
can I
trying to
ask
stay
that?
away from specific,
Are you feeling more supported?
right.
Well,
Are you feeling
What sort of things would make you feel more supported might be the better way to ask that question.
Or are you feeling more supported this year than last?
Keep me in mind.
It's getting better, but I don't feel comfortable to share it
Okay.
openly.
And we would encourage you to do so in the follow-up method, if you would, that'd be great. Thank you for stepping forward.
Needs are being met? I don't know if you got that.
I'm sorry?
The kids' needs are being met?
No. Not. There are so many behaviors in our school. So many. And we're doing the best we can. But it's affecting teachers being able to teach.
Is that just kids today, or is it just?
I'm seeing it more and more. Like, I've been teaching for 18 years, and it's not like it was when I first started. And we are asked to do an impossible job with some of the behaviors.
What support would be helpful? Like, what do you think you need?
From the board?
Well, just in general, like, what would be helpful?
Like day to day?
Consequences for behaviors.
The accountability?
Accountability. The kids need to be held accountable for what they do.
Where does that come from?
We were dragged in the hallway and like stuck there.
Can we do that?
I don't know, can we?
Some of it is home, that's.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
but you also need to feel like.
It needs to come all the way down.
Okay.
I mean, like, Kelly and I in pre-K, we have each other's back. When we have a kid that's really having a rough day, we lean on each other to help us. Because there's not always admin in the building. And if there's no admin, who do you go to?
Yeah.
So we lean on each other. Today I had Brenda help me. There was no admin. And you don't want to pull the ETP out of her classroom because you have a kid refusing to walk down the hall, refusing to go to lunch. So I just poked my head into Brenda and I'm like, hey.
Do you want to get run over by all the first grade and the kindergartners that are coming down the hallway? Why don't you stand up and walk? You do. Sometimes you need that other person.
Yeah.
In the other districts, I know a couple on the board that has, experience with other school districts. Do you guys have like what's called a resource or a float teacher that is just assigned to float over there? I mean, I know it's a big ask for the district, but.
I think we got a float mom. Just a mom that was
For volunteer.
taking care of business, yeah.
But
That's that's something to consider, you know, it's a budget thing, right? Of course,
Right,
but
right,
it's
for sure.
something that has come up.
Well, and I think there's also a beginning of a ray of light of hope with the state, who's starting to begin conversations about potentially simplifying and updating their funding formula, which is a big part of this conversation too. Because if you go with what the state says, it says that we're way over budget for teachers and ed techs as we currently sit right now. And you ask the staff, doesn't feel that way, does it? So it's this incredibly complex formula that they go through. And it's the irony of the situation to me is this, is that it's 25 years old and hasn't been updated, right? And it requires the legislator to do it, which we all know how hard it is to get anything done in a state or federal legislature. However, if a town doesn't go through a reval process every 20 years, guess what happens? They drop the state funding, which includes dollars for the school, which includes homestead exemptions. So like in Holden, prior to them doing the reval last year, my homestead exemption had gone from 25,000 to 15. Because we were down to, I think, don't quote me on the number, but around 80% of our funding was all we were getting because we hadn't done a reval. And thankfully the town did it. Yes, people got pretty upset because their property values skyrocketed and their taxes went up. And now they're getting 100%, at least for the time being. So for homestead, for school, for their other services that they have. And so it's like the state has the best of both worlds, in my opinion, is that they can automatically penalize the towns and not necessarily update their own funding formulas for our most important asset, our children. And so I was really kind of, I guess, optimistic when I saw in the news recently that there was talk of them starting to fix this process, this broken system, how they fund the schools. And we'll see if it actually happens.
I don't want what I said to sound like I'm blaming Stephanie for not being in the building. She was needed elsewhere. That's not what, it's hard with the behaviors of the kids, you know? So it's not, when I say there's no admin in the building, it's not because Stephanie's not doing her job. She's being asked to do a lot. So
thank you for
that's
saying that too. I'm sure she appreciates you hearing that too. So
yeah.
That's good.
I'm not knocking her. I'm saying the kids are hard these
Well,
days.
sometimes too, it's like, we'll work out a schedule where the mornings are gonna be Eddington and the afternoons are gonna be Holden, and it's gonna, this is the reason, and then there's an emergency that's present at a school that pulls you away, and you have to make a decision, right? And then if something else happens at another school, that when you're not there, you don't know it's an emergency until you finish with the emergency that you're
But it's not an emergency when you have a naughty kid versus, you know, something that's actually pressing. So.
I have found the assistant to the principals successful. Does anybody, is that role been helpful?
We used to have one, and we always have them, I think.
The role of the
ATP,
assistant to the principal, which is the person who gets the stipend for helping the principal when she's not in the building, I think has been successful.
I can speak to the fact that it wasn't successful the 5 years I did it, because when I was called out of the room, I opened the door, she got all my kids. When you are a teacher and you need to go get another kid's teacher out from underneath the table, what do you do with your 20 kids that you have?
Yeah.
My bad, I misunderstood that. I thought she said assistant principal, like a person.
No.
But you mean like a teacher?
It's a teacher.
It's a teacher.
Who's in charge when the
That's the
principal's not there.
assistant to the principal.
Yeah,
That's
got it.
ATP.
Didn't hear that
Which,
part.
back then I did it for 5 years each, when Dawn was there. And no, I mean, I would have a spot in my room where I'd have kids come and have to sit there, and I'm still teaching, and
Then monitoring this other kid that you don't.
Yeah.
And I have to say, like, we all have walkie-talkies in our room, and we leave them on so we can hear important things, or we can call down when we need it. And I heard a teacher call down for support on one of those days, and And the assistant to the principal did say, yes, I can come down as soon as someone can cover my class.
Yeah.
So like, that's the struggle, like, if that teacher needs that person right then and there,
Yeah.
and she's saying, well, I will come down, but I need someone to cover my class. Well, if we're all teaching in that moment, it's hard, and not everybody at the moment has a walkie-talkie, so not everybody might not know that she needs that support. So it's, that I think is a struggle.
Yeah.
I would just like to make a motion that we either adjourn or we need to extend our meeting past 8:30.
Well, which is it?
I would like to make a motion that we extend the meeting past 8:30 as.
So policy requires us to do this if we are going to go beyond 8:30. I don't think we're going to need you guys much longer, but we do have a bunch of policies to go over tonight. So I'm sure the board is really thrilled to hear that. So I have a motion to extend beyond 8:30 for our board meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
So motion from Rachel, second from Juliana. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your hand. Is that yes, Amy? It's unanimous. Lucky us. Thank you for that. No,
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah, great feedback, guys.
Thank you all.
Please look forward to that.
Listen to policies if you like.
Yeah, please look forward for that follow-up to come soon, and we'll make sure that we can message out to you all when that's done, okay? Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Okay, we've got 10 policies to review. I'm going to read off the policy number, highlight the changes, ask for a motion to adopt, or ask for discussion. If there's no changes, we can adopt them immediately.
Scott, I'll be right back. 2 minutes.
Okay, we'll recess for 2 minutes.
You have to wait for me?
Yes.
Oh,
Anything else we can do?
Should we put these on an April meeting? Motion to move into.
I don't have anything that's awfully pressing because we still have our executive session thing.
There's nothing on here
I
that
mean,
we're not
some of
doing.
these are so straightforward. We just,
Yes, let's do whatever is most efficient.
I mean,
We need Brittany?
yes, we need to have Brittany. She said 2 minutes. But I mean, earned paid leave, what are we going to do? Not adopt that?
Yeah, all the
It's a
top
law.
ones are on the law.
And this one,
Right?
Yeah, they're all, every one of them on here is
I read
necessary.
them all and I didn't find.
And I'll just say now while we're waiting for Brittany, the cell phone policy that we wrote up, tried to adopt is really what Michelle was already doing at the middle school and it's working very well. Hopefully there's no big discussion.
Good
about
text.
that.
Maybe we skip that one just in case there is.
Here she is, Brittany's back.
All right, welcome back, Brittany. Policy number 1. GBP-R, earned paid leave administrative procedure. This is a new policy.
GPP, we have to go with GPP first. Yep. Sorry.
Did I not say?
Do it to R first.
GBP.
Oh, yeah. Well, our wonderful staff in the central office utilized both sides of the page and I missed it, so my bad, sorry. Good job, Karen. Policy GBP, earned paid leave. This is a new policy that falls in line with basically Maine's earned paid leave law, which took effect January 1st, 2021. Is there any discussion on this? Has anyone had a chance to read it? Jamie?
Sorry. So for this one, is this Maine School Management, a boilerplate from Maine School Management?
Yes, we took their recommended one.
And when was that pulled? Was it back in November?
It would have been when we had that November meeting.
Okay.
Has it changed?
So I think maybe you want to revisit this just a little bit to verify, but I believe that the rules around the carry forward from 1 year to the next have changed.
Okay.
So, and I might be ahead of myself here with GBP and GBP.
I would entertain a motion to table this until the April board meeting.
So moved.
This one and the GBPR, which directly relates to it.
You don't want to send it back to the.
Can I ask one?
Send it back for a second read.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would entertain a motion to send the GBP and the GBPR back to the policy committee for further review.
Second.
Second. So moved.
It's past 8:30, you're forgetting.
Jamie is the motion, Rachel's the second. Any discussion? All in favor, raise their hand. Any opposed? Vote is unanimous. Moving on.
This too shall proceed.
Policy EBBD, temperature standard for schools. This one's pretty standard, falls in line with the state law and the MSMA boilerplate policy. I would entertain a motion to accept as distributed.
So moved.
Motion from Chip is what I heard first, second from Juliana. Any discussion?
I would just say, the two things that we as a policy committee added was the minimum of 62 degrees, and then we did put the maximum zone, down here.
Which was allowed per state statute within.
We put it to 6.
Yep, yeah, it could be higher or lower in those cases if they wanted it to be. So that is correct.
And then 82 degrees is the max.
Correct.
That was what the state had said.
Recommendation.
Oh, yeah,
Yep.
we did hear that.
Yep. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your hand. That vote is, Chip, are you? Okay, unanimous. Moving on, family care leave, GBO. Should this also be looked at again? Okay, I would entertain a motion to send back to policy for further review.
I make a motion.
Motion by Jamie, second by Juliana. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. That is unanimous. JICJ, cell phones and other personal electronic devices at school. This is a new policy. The state is requiring implementation of a cell phone policy as strict as their standard or stricter by August 1st of this year. So anything you'd like to add as the policy chair?
No.
So it's pretty much boilerplate from the state standard.
We
Okay.
changed like one little word that was, I think.
We did add other PEDs so that it wouldn't be just cell phones, but may also include smartwatches.
All right, it's my understanding we've implemented this kind of anyway at Holbrook, is that correct?
Yes.
Sheila?
Yes.
All right, and it seems to be working.
Yeah.
Correct, okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adopt this policy after the first review.
So moved.
I'll give it to Juliana this time, and a second to Rachel. Whitney's just been a ghost over here. She's smiling and not making motions or saying anything tonight. I'm getting worried. At least her jacket's off. She's not hot anymore, or cold anymore. All right, all those in favor? That is unanimous. Next up, we have policy BG, school board policy. What is?
I don't want to make a speaker one for this because this gets a little, you have to rescind BGB and then adopt BG or BGR in its place. So the speaker version of yours has it.
Oh, the agenda part.
Yeah,
Right.
BGB.
Somebody want to give me a summary of what we're doing here?
So the district in the past did some wordsmithing on policies, and on these, we're trying to put them back to the MSMA templates.
So BGB is the policy that the district had that we don't need. Policy BG would replace it, and BGR is the procedure for it.
Can you give us the 30,000-foot view of what this means?
We unnecessarily made it complicated, and we're just putting it back.
Yeah, right. So basically.
What specifically does this take away from the board that was wordsmith that we shouldn't be doing?
The other one didn't have, well, this one is basically explaining the procedure for adopting policy according to MSMA.
You want to know specifically the difference between the highlighted section? I mean, I don't remember.
I'll summarize, you can tell me if I'm wrong.
I have
It basically tells this board that there's a standardized policy to adopt policies, and that there's a certain way to govern governance in the absence of a policy that would be more properly in line with the state standards. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Does that make sense to everybody, particularly those not on the policy committee? Okay. So I would entertain a motion to adopt policies BG and BGR and, okay. I would first entertain a motion to rescind policy BGB.
Second.
Rachel, motion, second Juliana, discussion. Get the next one. All those in favor? That vote is unanimous. Next, Whitney, I would entertain a motion, everyone turn your mics off, except Whitney, to adopt policy BG and BGR as distributed and written. I have a motion from Whitney.
I remember my first one too. And it was also.
Is there a second?
It was to add.
Second!
No, Jamie got that one. Jamie has the second. Is there further discussion on this? All those in favor? That is unanimous. All right, next we have GCFB, recruiting and hiring of administrative staff.
One thing that we've proposed to add to this, which the state had in theirs that had been removed from ours that we're asking to put back in, is under the narrative here, it says RSU 63, that very next line, it says the purpose of this policy, race includes traits associated with race, including hair texture, after styles, and protective hairstyles, including braids, twists, and locks. So that is a phrase that the state has that somehow at some point got removed. So as a policy committee, we were recommending that that portion of that goes back in.
Can we say including but not limited to? I haven't noticed that before. Like.
But that's on this print that was distributed, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so it doesn't mean we're changing what's
No,
distributed.
I know, I was just asking, is
That's
it
the
including
change.
only those things? Is that what it means, or can race include other things? I'm just asking, I didn't.
If you see out here, it includes other things, and then it also includes these things.
Okay, yeah, okay. Oh, includes, okay, yeah, you're right.
Any other questions?
So traits associated with race.
I was hoping that in this one, we could, the board could define which administrators, because.
That would be in R, wouldn't it be?
Sure, yes, I apologize.
Well, before we vote on this, let's clarify if that is in R.
Because does administrator mean?
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but wouldn't administrator be
Like a
part of the administrative collective bargaining
Right.
unit?
Well, so
there you go, that's a basic
I mean, right, like, you would be if you were just the curriculum director, but you're the superintendent and the curriculum director, so you're not part of the administrative bargaining unit anymore.
Right. And there's a separate one for.
No, Carrie?
Transportation and facilities are not part of the administrative as of right now.
And the business.
They would be with
manager.
this?
No, we're asking.
I don't think
you
that
to-
changes that, yeah, no, they're not. Nor should they be part of the admin, in my opinion.
I asked us to look at this one because of the issue with the business manager, and the business manager is also not in the collective bargaining, so does this refer to, which administrators does this refer to?
Sounds, Rachel, go ahead.
So I reached out to Charlotte Bates. She is actually in charge of policies for the MSMA, and I asked her that we had met and we had a question in regards to GCFBR in what I said in section G1, specifically the requirement for board approval. I said we're seeking clarification on the state's expectation regarding this provision. When is a candidate's name brought forward, blah, blah, blah. So she said 20-A MRSA blah, blah, requires boards to develop a non-discriminatory hiring process for positions requiring administrator certification. Then her next thing in its -13001, it defines an administrator as an individual who provides leadership services to assist in the operations of schools, including but not limited in the following capacities: superintendent, assistant superintendent, building administrator, and principal. Special services are considered administrators because they have a special licensing. She also says that the superintendent shall nominate principals for employment subject to regulations established by the school board. The school board would vote in regards for all of these positions except possibly for the business manager. The board would put under its agenda action items to approve the superintendent nomination, blah, blah, blah. I would say that, so like we would have to put it out specifically. So she said if the process outlined in GCFDR is followed, the person to be nominated by the superintendent has been thoroughly vetted by the selection committee.
Did we have a motion on the table yet for this? No. Okay, so we probably should have done that first. So it sounds like maybe we need to send this back for further clarification of what roles this has and put it in the policy.
I think that this
Am I
came up
hearing?
because I think it came up because like it's hard to have the distance between the board meetings to
the hire.
To have the hiring. Like it's like that's why we're not being able. Like, what if something comes up and we need to hire a business manager? Like, sorry, you're gonna wait 4 more weeks for this to happen, and then 3 more weeks. It's like it would be easier if.
So you call a special board meeting?
Right.
But also,
Okay,
is
that's
it
what- that's how it
necessary
came up.
for the name?
Hmm?
Like, is it necessary for the board because all we do is say their name and then?
Yeah, then we just vote.
Well, so what Charlotte had said is normally what happens in other districts is that the superintendent will let the board members know the qualifications of the candidate.
Yep.
Like you wouldn't give them their whole resume and whatnot, but say I'm bringing forth this candidate, here's their qualifications, this is why I'm bringing
Right,
them
so
forth.
as a reminder for the superintendent search, we signed a form and we were able to review the documents associated with those applicants, which is what I would embrace and encourage us to continue to do. What I personally don't like to do is vote on hiring a new teacher.
With no background whatsoever on the teacher.
I mean,
like, why are we gonna ask to do that?
What difference does it make what I think?
No.
Give them a year and have them come up for renewal. Most districts allow the superintendent to hire a teacher, like a non-administrative person,
Right,
and then the renewal comes to the school board.
right.
Like, then you know, after a year, are they fitting into the district? But as far as the administrators, I'm all for still having the board vote on a business manager, superintendent, a special ed director, the super important roles for the district. I think it's critical
So then
that we have some involvement in, but.
There's a timing thing that comes up, special
But
meetings encouraged.
do I really want Sheila to seek our opinion for a transportation supervisor, for a 4th grade math teacher? No. No, I'm sorry, what did you say?
So just if a great person comes along, then it would be encouraged to have a special meeting, like right away. Don't wait for the next one, just like call one.
If it's for an administrative position and we're desperate, yeah, you can call a meeting with,
Just say that would be.
per policy, you can waive the notice, provided you take an official vote at the next meeting to ratify it. Otherwise, if you give 48 hours notice, you can have a special meeting and the vote is binding.
And it does say in here that the board and you can all agree to bypass some of these steps. I think, however, I was just saying, should we list the actual administrative positions that this pertains to?
Okay, it's 8:45, so we're either going to send this back or we're gonna vote on it. I would entertain a motion to do one of those.
I make a motion that we send GCFB and GCFDR back to the policy committee for a second review.
Second.
Motion by Rachel, second by Juliana, send it back to policy. Is there further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. All right, next we have JJIBA, hiring and evaluation of coaches. Coaches?
This one is just going back to the normal one that was changed.
Let's see, add MSMA draft policy language to policy, change the word shall to may in all incidences. I would call for a motion to accept the JJIBA, hiring and evaluation of coaches policy.
So moved.
Motion by Amy. Do I have a second? Second by Whitney. That's twice. I like it. She's starting to feel welcome, y'all. Is there any discussion? Chip's already dreaming of the islands. He's leaving soon. All in favor? All right, unanimous. My goodness, we made it through them all. Next, I would entertain a motion to enter into executive session, discussion of compensation of officials, appointees, employees pursuant to 1 MRSA 4056C. Motion by Brittany. Do I have a second by Whitney? I have a second by Whitney. At this point, I would ask the superintendent for a roll call vote, please.
Brittany,
Yes.
Juliana,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Rachel,
Yes.
Scott.
Yes. Motion passes 8-0, unanimous vote. The time is 8:49. We will enter into executive and be back hopefully shortly. Time is 9:08. I will call this meeting back into resume public session. And I would entertain a motion for possible action regarding the executive session. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Juliana, second from Jamie. Is there discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, meeting is adjourned.